Okay, on we go. Yes, it is. Hey guys, what's up? This is FallsBulls123 and welcome back to my channel. Now, if you have been a long-time watcher of this channel, you may remember last year I did a tier list of every movie that I watched, and that was actually a lot of fun. I think I watched about 60... Ooh, making noise already. I think I watched about 60 movies last year, and oh my goodness, there's so many. Guess how many I watched this year? Okay, guessing in the comments, it was 100. And you're like, Ryan, you're exaggerating, you dumb bee. And I'm like, am I? Am I exaggerating? Are you saying I'm exaggerating when I literally made an entire freaking spreadsheet for it? Okay, don't tell me I'm exaggerating. And so, pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing a tier rank for New Year's. And obviously, this is a lot of movies. So it's going to take me a minute. And so I brought myself a handy. This is a Rockstar. I drink energy drinks now. Hi, my name is Kyle. And I'm going to just use something to open this because apparently I don't have fingernails again. So this is what we call False Bulls ASMR. I'm going to slowly grab the lid of this and then pull it up. Okay. I didn't manage to do that, but I did manage to get this open. I'm trying to be more fun and flirty with... Ooh, that was something I'm not going to do in front of my microphone. See, it tastes like a Big Red and pennies. The ultimate flavor. So, I'm going to explain how this is going to work for the next foreseeable future. As we will be here for a second, and I'm going to go turn off my heater and maybe go have a blanket because it is a little cold. So I'll be right back. Oop. Good. So now I'm comfy. And I was explaining how this works. I know I keep turning back to my OBS, but that's just because my browser, for some reason, is not doing stuff. Here, I'm going to show you, right? Watch this. Like, what the hell is that? That's not even like... You know what I mean? So, and since I haven't figured out how to... Oh, wait. I feel stupid. I just figured... I may have not used OBS in a second because I just figured out how to take off, like, an element from it. You aren't watching this for OBS shit anyway. Till I've had a fun, long, and exciting day. And so here is basically what we're going to do. I'm going to go through all 100 of the movies I watched. To describe them to you, I'm just going to use the letterbox description, which is based on the TMDB description, and probably most of those are stolen from IMDb anyway, so it's the internet, basically. I'm just reading it from the internet. And so what I like to do, because I'm not really into, what's the word I'm looking for? I just like having only a 10-point quantifiable system for rating, because I feel like there's a lot of reasons why I might rate something 3.5 stars, or I might rate something, like, 1 star. And so I really dislike choosing how to rate something based off of just numbers, because when I rate something, it could be, oh, maybe this is 5 stars, but maybe this is because of nostalgia, maybe it's because I just liked it because I'm trash. And so I don't necessarily like to only have a quantifiable rating for something like that, you know what I mean? And so basically what I've done, if you aren't on Letterboxd or watch the last tier rank I did, is that I basically have made a categorical system to explain it all. So I'm going to go through that real quick, and then we'll get started on my fun movies. Oh, also, if you're wondering, Ryan, how the hell did you watch 100 movies this year when last time you barely watched that? Like, not even half that? And that's because I basically did this thing called the Time Wasters Challenge, which is like a scavenger hunt. I'm going to try to do some blogging on it, but I'm not sure yet, okay? Excuse me. Anyway, so the first category is you need to watch this movie right now, okay? Right the fuck now. And this is basically a movie that I love either because I think it's a really great piece of cinema or because it is the right kind of trash that I like, or both. I feel like the only movie that's on my You Need to Watch It Right Now list that I don't want to immediately rewatch is Brokeback Mountain. That's really more like, I think that everyone should watch it for reasons. You know what I mean? Next up is personal recommendation, and I liked it. And I'm thinking about maybe splitting this up, because I feel like there are really good films, and there's films that I would like personally recommend people, but I'm thinking maybe this needs to have like two categories, like separate them a bit. I'm wishy-washy about that, so right now, this category is basically like, I really liked it, it's a great film. If one of my friends said, hey, have you seen this film, did you like it? I would say, oh yeah, it's great, you should totally watch it. But it isn't like amazing, you know what I mean? It's good, but it's not like, this is literally something I want to share immediately with you. Popcorn film is basically a film that's like fun, but it doesn't have a lot of substance. So it's a movie I go to see in theaters, I enjoyed it, but it's not something that like I would immediately be like, oh, I'm going to go out and buy it. You know what I mean? It's one of those films that's like, it's fun to see in theaters, but not fun to own. For me, like the quintessential popcorn film that I felt really encapsulates this was Happy Death Day. I saw it in theaters. It was a great time, but it literally has no rewatchability, because it was just meant to be enjoyed once and thrown away like every other consumeristic object in this world. Meh, alright films are basically films that are not bad, they're just there. They're kind of like the lifetime of films, you know what I mean? If the good ones are, it was a movie, I put it on, it consumed a moment of my time, and I didn't hate it. It's just, it was an alright film. You get what I'm saying. So, next up is So Bad It's Bad. That's pretty explanatory. This is for absolute shit. And it is pretty hard to get on my absolute shit list. But, yeah, basically these are just for movies that are either just really offensive and don't have much, like, you know, standards. They're poorly made, they're cheap, they're, like, you know, exploitative. And I love exploitation, but, you know, exploitative in, like, the negative way. Exploitation, but derogatory. So Bad It's Good can be a lot of different films. This include films that are purposely campy, this can include B-movies, and this can just include trash that I like. So that one's pretty subjective, but So Bad It's Good, I usually am enjoying it with some sense of irony, or at least with the ironic sense that I'm enjoying it for the sort of quality of the filmmaking and not necessarily the craft of the film. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm enjoying it not necessarily for its genuine intended purpose, but for a secondary, extrinsic interpretation of of the media. Hopefully that made sense. It's complicated. It's basically, it's either like really just an interesting movie, and I can't really, basically it's a movie I can't place. It's like, is it trash? Is it genius? I don't really know, and that's probably the rarest of my categories. I think last time I had only 2 films that actually were, you know, it's complicated. Like my 2008 relationship post on Facebook. I'm just kidding. I have never posted, like, you know, what are we posts on Facebook. So let me just sort of frame this a little better, make sure it actually pops up on screen. And the first one is A Cure for Wellness. Ooh. Now, what I'm doing right now, I know you can't see it because of the way that I've framed it, but I essentially have my phone, right, with Letterboxd and with the live stream going. So if you see that one viewer with you, it's me. Yeah, it's just me. And so, let's get started. So, what I'm doing is, like I mentioned before, if you just joined this chat, is I am currently reading the descriptions based off of Letterboxd, which is the site I use to track my own movies. Also, I should mention, I believe that, I'm just going to check real quick because I'm not quite ready to start. I'm pretty sure on my profile it says I've seen, 139 films this year. However, 39 of those are short films or miniseries, and so those are not counted in this review. So only the 100 feature-length films, so at least an hour and a half, are included. So here we go. There is a cure. An ambitious young executive is sent to retrieve his company's CEO from an idyllic but mysterious wellness center at a remote location in the Swiss Alps, but soon suspects that the spot's miraculous treatments are not what they seem. So, A Cure for Wellness was definitely a movie that's been on my watch list for years. I remember when it first came out, I wanted to see it so badly, because I'm just like, folk, horror, ooh, I'm just like, leeches, ooh, I'm like, the whole like convalescence culture that just makes my pussy frop, is what I'm saying. It is exactly my aesthetic. And watching the film, you know, it is definitely an aesthetic, but I'm not sure if I ever really... It's difficult, because on one hand, the film is really well done, is really very beautiful, but it is so slow. It is like over 2 hours long, and I really feel like the pacing drags the film. It was 2 hours of really pretty visuals, but it was definitely not 2 hours of plot. Actually, let me just check. 146 minutes, so that is a little over, 2 hours and 26 minutes. So 2.5 hours, essentially, this movie is. So, when I reviewed it first, I said it was complicated. I agree. It's a really pretty film. It's really well executed. I think that it managed to be really dramatic at stages. At the same time, did it need to be that long? And that's kind of the thing, is that sometimes you really need a more... For me, I think you need a really more definitive cut. And if your movie is going to be 2.5 hours long, maybe there's a better format to tell your story in. I'm going to literally shoot myself in the face when we talk about Kill Bill, but hey, we'll get into that. Yeah, and I'm curious. I rated the movie 3.5 stars, if that gives you any indication. So, 1 minute. So, the next up is a classic comedy. I think it's a classic. I've definitely heard people talk about this. Called A Fish Called Wanda. Oh, I forgot one thing. My bad. Give me 1 second. I've got to tell you, A Cure for Wellness was from 2016 and directed by Gore Verbinski. So, next up is A Fish Called Wanda. It came out in 1988 and was directed by Charles Crichton. And this is a comedy. A tale of murder, lust, greed, revenge, and seafood. A diamond advocate is attempting to steal a collection of diamonds, yet troubles arise when he realizes that he is not the only one after the diamonds. So, I think A Fish Called Wanda is probably going to achieve the most vaguest description ever award, because sometimes Letterboxd really disappoints me. So, basically, A Fish Called Wanda is... I don't really want to call it a heist movie, because the heist only happens in the first 10 minutes. It's more of like an after the heist movie. And it's basically dealing with all of these characters who are crossing and double-crossing each other to get these diamonds. Jamie Lee Curtis is in it, and she's basically trying to seduce John Cleese, who is kind of a daddy in this. Like, not gonna lie, John Cleese can low-key get it. Like, the last person you would expect to, like, kind of being, like, the eye candy in a movie, but I'm like, okay, this was some choices in casting. And, also Kevin Kline was in it, who is maybe the dude from Community? I don't remember. If it is, he aged very poorly. I don't think it's him. I think it's a different guy named Kline. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a different guy, but, yeah. If I had to pick for A Fish Called Wanda... I wouldn't say that it is, and just in case you're, like, following me on Letterboxd, I'm probably going to have slightly different depictions than, like, what I did in my reviews. I'm actually going to try not to look at my reviews, but, because I already rated these, like, once when I first watched them, so I'm going to try to rate them again now, like, looking back. So, looking at it now, I think A Fish Called Wanda, I'd probably put it with personal recommendation. I definitely liked it. It was a fun film. I thought it was funny. I thought it was sexy. And it was really good. Next up is Alice, Sweet Alice, and give me 1 second, typing it in. And I originally heard about this movie from... Sorry, I have some noise in the background. I'm going to turn down my gain a little. Hopefully that prevents too much. Actually, sorry, I know I'm fiddling with the thing now. Anyway, there we go. So, I originally listened to this podcast called Girls, Guts, and Gallo, and this is actually the first episode she did was on Alice, Sweet Alice, which is a 1976 thriller. I mean, it's a slasher, but it really is a slasher thriller, and you could definitely argue that the slasher by default is a thriller. That's fine. We're playing fast and loose with these genres here. There are a lot of things that are technically considered like one genre that I'm like, I guess, you know what I mean? But anyway, slasher thriller, whatever. Set in 1976, and it was directed by Alfred Soul. So here's some background. Oh, let me read you the description first. I'm so bad at this. If you survive this night, nothing will scare you again. Alice is a withdrawn 12-year-old who lives with her mother and her younger sister Karen, who gets most of their attention from her mother, leaving Alice out of the spotlight. When Karen is found brutally murdered in a church, suspicions start to turn towards Alice. But could a 12-year-old girl really be capable of such savagery? So I think Alice, Sweet Alice is probably pretty decently known around the horror sphere, especially when it comes to like slasher movies. I've definitely seen it pop up in people's lists. This is the first time I've seen it. I actually really liked it. I wouldn't say that for me it was the most engaging of slasher films, and obviously at this point in the genre, the slasher is pretty nascent. You really don't get to see a lot of polish on slasher films until the 80s, where you start seeing like these big budget ones that really have this very polished slasher formula. But I think Alice, Sweet Alice is actually really interesting because it is a slasher, but it really incorporates these traditional 70s thriller elements, which I'm definitely still learning a lot about. Actually, I think the thriller was a 60s earmark. Anyway, point being, it definitely incorporates a lot more like thrilling elements to it. So there's like these characters, there's all these like suspicions and all of this other stuff. And it really sort of plays with this dichotomy of like, is Alice this sweet, innocent girl, or is she a raging sociopath? And can it be a little bit of both? I'm not going to spoil it, but I had a lot of really interesting images, really interesting imagery, and while I didn't get into a lot of the subtext that I've heard other people talk about with it, I enjoyed it. It was a time. It was a vibe. And so I'll probably put this in personal recommendation. I liked it. It was pretty good. Always Be My Maybe. Now, this is actually the movie I watched before I lost my virginity. Tee-hee, JK, maybe. You don't know. You don't need to know. Anyway, Always Be My Maybe is a romantic comedy that stars 2 Asian leads. I actually think most of the cast is Asian. Yeah, most of the cast is actually Asian, which is super cool, because when the hell have you ever seen that, okay? Literally, when have you ever seen an Asian-led romantic comedy? I bet you haven't. Thank you. And it stars Ali Wong and Randall Park, so we're not reaching too far out of the way to find, like, unknown Asian actors, but I honestly love both of them, and I think they do have good chemistry together. I'm pretty sure, like, they also do Fresh Off the Boat. That's them, right? That's definitely Randall Park, and I'm pretty sure that's... No, it might be another chick. I know I'm literally live streaming right now, but I need to know, so just don't look at any of my search history. Tee-hee. Is it Ali Wong? No, it's Constance Wu. Okay, but it is Randall Parker. I didn't know that. Ali Wong, I believe... She's been in other stuff, though. Point being, Always Be My Maybe is like this cute, like, cheesy rom-com starring romantically. It's dear fucking lord. I can't talk today. Hi. I'm not even drunk yet, and I can't already talk today. But yeah, it's super cute. And it has... So give me a second. So 2019, directed by Nanachka Khan. Took me a second. There's always been something between them. Reunited after 15 years, famous chef Sasha and her hometown musician Marcus feel the old sparks of attraction but struggle to adapt to each other's worlds. So yeah, it's basically this, what's it called? There's a word for it. Second chance romance. That's it. Love that phrasing. It's like that old like English sitcom with those two that get together after a while. Also, Keanu Reeves is in this, and I feel like Keanu Reeves is kind of going into like this Nicolas Cage space now, where he just plays these like really intense, campy characters. If you ever want to see a good example of that, last year I watched Knock Knock with Eli Roth, and that was exactly that vibe. So, Always Be My Maybe is... It's a popcorn film, okay? It is literally a rom-com I watched during date night. It's a popcorn film. And there's absolutely no shade. I think there are some really amazing rom-coms out there. But I definitely think that it's important to recognize that within all forms of art, there are always going to be lowbrow media. And that it's okay to enjoy the popcorn films. It's okay to enjoy lowbrow art as a form of really permission, I think. I think it's really important to recognize that there's plenty of times within our lives that we say, oh, to enjoy this, I need to enjoy the classics. I need to enjoy the highbrow sophistication. I must constantly be surrounded in a wealth of culture. And sometimes it's okay to give yourself permission to watch trash. Not to say Always Be My Maybe is trash. I'm just saying, let yourself watch the rom-com. Eat that McDonald's. You know, just enjoy yourself. Next up is Barbie and the Nutcracker, which... If you do need to know, I did watch for my, what was it, Time Waster Challenge. I can't remember what it was called. And the prompt was, watch a movie from the Barbie franchise. And I've never actually seen a Barbie movie. There's like 36 of them. I know, wow. Excuse me. It's either 36 or 26. There's a surprising amount of them is what I'm saying. And basically... And I would literally read you the description, but it's in the title. It's the Nutcracker, but it's Barbie. And I actually really had fun, watching this film. Not because I necessarily think the film is amazing in any sense, but just because I think it's important that I push myself outside of my, comfort zone. And this is definitely not a movie I would have immediately chosen to watch. And not just because it's, a feminine movie. I definitely watch chick flicks. I grew up in a house with 3 women, so I've seen a lot of chick flicks. But just because it's something that's very much geared towards a young female audience. And I've just never had any desire or need to watch it because I'm not a father of a young girl. Or a young girl, you know what I mean? So for those that only have a basic gist of Barbie, this is basically the first couple films in her franchise are basically retellings or loose adaptations of classic fairy tales, very Disney. And essentially Barbie acts as a sort of meta narrative where she also plays the main character. So in this case, she plays the Sugar Plum Princess. I haven't fucking seen the Nutcracker, okay? She plays whatever that princess is that's oh, I'm a princess, and the Nutcracker's some other dude, and also, who is it? Tim Curry. Tim Curry plays the Mouse King, and so you know that Tim Curry is just... He has that voice. He exudes this type... What I'm saying is that Tim Curry is being hella thick in this movie. You understand what I'm saying. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it was an early 2000s CGI movie, and so the graphics were not great, and the plot was written for children. It was okay. But it also was not made for me, so, I think that's perfectly fine. So, Before I Fall is a... I guess time loop movie is what you would call it, like Groundhog's Day. And one of the reasons why I chose it is because I've been trying to go through all of the... I can't type today, hi. I've been trying to go through all of the different movies that I reference in my blog and watch them. And so I basically got, I think, 8 or 7 of the films watched this year, which is pretty decent. So Before I Fall is from 2017 and was directed by Rai Russo Young. And... like I said, it's a time loop movie, but let me read you the description. What if today was the only day of the rest of your life? Samantha Kingston has everything. Then, everything changes. After one fateful night, she wakes up with no future at all. Trapped into reliving the same day over and over, she begins to question just how perfect her life really is. So yeah, this is basically a Groundhog's Day, but teen drama. And I didn't hate it, to be honest. I thought it was fun. You know, it had, I wouldn't say the most predictable plot, but definitely a very wholesome feel-good plot in a sense. Well, I mean, I don't want to spoil it. I guess it's not that wholesome, but like, you know, it's definitely one of those like, hey, I'm willing to I'm willing to grow as a person and not take things for granted and maybe like reevaluate my friendships. And so it's very much this sort of like coming of age type film. And like I said, I don't hate it, but I definitely think that compared to a lot of other like time loop stories, I'm mostly thinking like Groundhog's Day and Russian Doll. It kind of falls a little flat. It's a film. I'm going to probably put this in popcorn film if I really need to make a decision, because I don't think it deserves to be meh alright film, because it definitely was entertaining. It wasn't like, you know, dry. It definitely had some like, you know, nice moments. And also, if you guys have a clip of the goth character saying, "I'm in heteronormative hell," please send that to me. I have an email. You can do that. Just send it to me, please. And basically, it was a vibe, but it was also just not amazing. You know what I mean? So now that I've analyzed what this movie should be, let's get on to 1973's Black Mama, White Mama. And you're like, Ryan, what the fuck is that? And like, well, first, I told you it was from 73, so that should give you some perspective. Basically, beginning of this month, I got really into Pam Grier because you've seen her, okay? You've seen Pam Grier. You know why I got into her. And you may not know this, but Pam Grier actually starred in a lot of different exploitation. Well, let me rephrase that. Pam Grier didn't just star in blaxploitation films. She also starred in quite a few women in prison movies, which is a separate form of exploitation movie from the time period. And so this is actually, I believe, one of her earlier movies she did before she got the AIP films, which I know I've watched most of her AIP listing, but I may have missed a few. So feel free to tell me which ones I haven't seen of hers. I've seen probably most of them, though. So, Black Mama, White Mama is, like I said before, a women in prison film. And if you aren't familiar with the concept, it's what it sounds like. It's an exploitation genre dealing with women in prison. And usually it deals a lot with, like, violence against women. It's a lot of, like, exploitative lesbianism. And there's a lot of them just, like, fighting and pulling the hair. And these, like, very predatory lesbian butch matron guards. It sounds gross and male-gazy, and a lot of it is, but it's also just, it's a genre film that people like making, where it's just stories of women going to prison, and it's like, they get beat up and shit. It just, I don't know, like, there's probably like more thoughts to it there, but that's basically the gist of the genre. Now let me read you, I'm sorry, I just noticed the tagline and I'm internally suffering. Chicks in Chains. Oh, I'm sorry, by the way, 1973, Eddie Romero. Chicks in Chains. Where'd they come from? This is fun. When two troublemaking female prisoners, one a revolutionary, the other a former harem girl, can't seem to get along, they had chained together and extradited for safekeeping. The women, still chained together, stumble, stab, and catfight their way across the wilderness, igniting a bloody shootout between gangsters and a group of revolutionaries. So you're like, wow, that sounds like trash. And you're right, it is trash. I honestly am having a really hard time placing this, because on one hand, it definitely has some good camp moments, but this is also Pam Grier we're talking about, and compared to like a lot of her other films, I don't know if I can really put it in the same category, because like, sure, it is campy, but like, it's not like to the level of some of her other, like, you know, camp films. I'm probably going to put this in meh alright, because there are some good moments. It really does encapsulate, like, early Pam Grier, where she's, like, had these one-liners, and she's super catty, and there's just some really great lines from it. but I don't think that it really deserves a place in the so bad it's good category, because I don't feel like it really gets to that point. Blade Runner 2049 is surprisingly not made in 2049. Teehee. Excuse me. It came out in 2017, which, wow, I feel old. I honestly thought it was a couple years younger than that. But, 2017, Denis Villeneuve, and this was part of my Time Wasters Challenge. This was, watch a movie with a primarily neon color palette. Also, I'm just saying, Ana de Armas needs to be my holographic wife. Just saying, teehee. Oh my gosh, she is so fucking... I just want what she and Ryan Gosling have in this movie. It's so beautiful. The Key to the Future... Oh, also, this was another one of those really long-ass movies. 164 minutes, which is 2 hours and 44 minutes. Y'all need to stop, okay? I am done watching these 3-hour movies. Okay, bitches? I am done. The Key to the Future is finally unearthed. 30 years after events of the first film, a new Blade Runner, LAPD Officer K, unearths a long-buried secret that has the potential to plunge what's left of society into chaos. K's discovery leads him on the quest to find Rick Deckard, a former LAPD Blade Runner who has been missing for 30 years. So, if you don't know, this is basically a continuation of the Blade Runner universe. This is super long, if you haven't guessed, set in the same universe, and also, I believe, part of like a multitude of content produced around this time. This was the main one, and then I believe they produced 3 short films at the same time. Came out all in 2017. So, I haven't actually seen the original Blade Runner. I understand like the basic gist of it, but I have not seen it. Which I know I am trash. Thank you for letting me know that. And give me 1 second. I actually really like this. It was one of those films that was like so aesthetic. There were some really great moments to it. But it's basically like watching a really long television show episode. It had a plot. I could follow it, but like if you asked me what the movie was about, I would only be able to give you like a synopsis of it, because if you spend 3 hours watching a movie, at the end of it you're kind of just like dead with consuming information, you know what I mean? And that's one of the issues I have with long movies, is that a movie really has to maintain an interest curve over the entire point of the video. You have to maintain an interest curve throughout the entire movie. And I think some movies manage to get away with that so like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's long, right? But they allow for an intermission, and they essentially have 2 arcs within the film. And so that's one way to sort of break up the action, break up the tension. But with a really long movie like this, you aren't really having that structure. And so that's why a TV show can have hundreds of hours, is because they're using episodic arcs. That's why, like, you know, you can have these longer contents that last for hours and hours and hours on end, even if... Actually, I'm just thinking about, like, you know, Midnight Mass now. But yeah, basically, a TV show has an episodic arc, which means that the tension is broken up. A movie doesn't have that, so the longer you make a movie, the more difficult it's going to be to actually have a captivating story arc that maintains tension. And so for Blade Runner, it's really beautifully done. I loved every second of it, but it's hard to maintain that tension and make it feel like I was involved in an engaging story. It mostly just feels like I stood at a screen for 3 hours, got really drunk, and then somehow managed to get completely sober by the end of it. So have you ever gotten smashed and then literally sobered up in the time span of a movie? That's how long this movie was. I'm going to put it's complicated because on one hand, I liked it, but on the other hand, it was too long. So long movies get to go in the it's complicated category. That's how this works. Next up is Blue Velvet, which is a movie I barely remember, mostly because I was very, very drunk, and also being a little slut on the internet. I just love telling you all these inappropriate details about my life. Don't you love that, fam? Yes, you do. So, Blue Velvet, if you don't know, is a David Lynch movie, and it was 1986. This was 2 hours long, which I didn't think it was 2 hours long, but now it makes sense. I would probably call this an erotic thriller. It's a strange world. The discovery of a severed human ear found in the field leads a young man on an investigation related to a beautiful, mysterious nightclub singer and a group of criminals who have kidnapped her child. So, I like this, but at the same time, I literally do not remember anything about it. I remember Kyle MacLachlan was in there. I remember there was this, like, I think it was called Chartreuse. It's like this singer, right? And she was like this sort of like tragic ingenue character who was also like, I think Homegirl needed some therapy, but like you kind of get it because like, you know, she's going through some shit. Oh, also apparently the antagonist was bisexual and I completely missed that. So interesting problematic representation because he's a crazy sociopath. But yeah, basically if you want to watch like a super steamy thriller involving child kidnapping and Kyle MacLachlan getting a blowy, then you're in luck. Because I feel so like impartial to this movie, because I was really distracted when I watched it, I'm going to put it under it's complicated, but yeah. Next up is Braid. This was one of those films that I just like randomly found. I don't remember where I saw it from, but it was like this trippy psychological horror film. Also, it has Madeline Brewer, and I love her. You know Madeline Brewer? Watch like shit with her in it. Watch Cam. That's a good Madeline Brewer flick. So this was 2018, directed by Mitzi Perroni. My apologies, Mitzi. And everybody plays, nobody leaves. Two drug dealers on the lam seek refuge to their mentally unstable friend's mansion. That's Brewer. But in order to stay, they have to participate in her elaborate and increasingly dangerous game of permanent make-believe. Yeah, so it's like, basically, she's hit her head when she was a kid, and now she's like constantly, like, you know, playing this game of, like, house. But it's, like, super, like, disturbed and demented. So it's like, oh, you have to play doctor, but instead of, like, a little reflex hammer, she actually has a sledgehammer or some shit. Stuff like that. And so it's, like, this fight of dominance and, like, power. There's all these, like, toxic female friendships, and it's, like, so trippy. I love how trippy it is. This whole movie is like a trip, and they're just like, we're going to give you aesthetic, we're going to give you psychedelic, we're going to give you femdom, and I'm just like, thank you. And they're like, also, Madeline Brewer, and I'm like, thank you. I love Madeline Brewer. Madeline Brewer wakes up every day and chooses to be a feminist horror icon, and we stand. So, I'm going to give this personal recommendation. I liked it. I'm not sure if I can necessarily watch this movie right now because I feel like it's so niche to my taste, but I really do like this film. So it's like really right on the line between personal recommendation and watch this movie right now. Next up is Burnt, which on one hand I like Burnt because Bradley Cooper, but on the other hand there is... I'm going to say this. I think that let me actually just... I'm going to gather my thoughts. I'm going to read you the description, and then I'll explain. Directed by John Wells. This came out in 2015. Never underestimate a man with everything to lose. Adam Jones is a chef who destroyed his career with drugs and diva behavior. Just the description. Diva behavior. He cleans up and returns to London, determined to redeem himself by spearheading a top restaurant that can gain 3 Michelin stars. So this just reminds me of this person I dated who was a home cook and thought that just because they watched, like, you know, the Food Network, they knew everything about cooking. Sorry if you're watching this, but I tell it how it is. But basically... I like this movie for its aesthetics, for its casting, and for, like, you know, really just giving me food porn. I like food porn. If you just show me a pretty cupcake, I'm just like, oh, that's hot. What I really don't care for in this movie is this very much feels like a story of someone who isn't a chef, but is on the outside looking in. And I think that really is difficult Because there's definitely this Hollywood idea of a chef that is very toxic. And I'm mostly talking about Gordon Ramsay right now. If you watch this film and you hear, oh, Gordon Ramsay was one of these inspirations, you definitely see it. And I don't mean to shade Gordon Ramsay. For me, one thing I dislike of the way that media presents him, let's go with that, because obviously it's exaggerated for television, right? Hopefully it's exaggerated for television. But the way that, like, the media presents, like, Hell's Kitchen or something like that, is that every chef is a boss bitch, okay? He's, screaming at his soldiers. He demands other respect. He is a tyrant, and they are his peons. And this is a really toxic mindset to have, and this is especially a toxic mindset to have in the kitchen. I've always seen working in a kitchen as it very much is something that really requires respect. It is a very etiquette-driven workplace. It is very much something where you really need to respect your coworkers and respect your superiors and inferiors and all that shit. And so one of the issues I really have with the sort of Gordon Ramsay style of management is that it very much belittles the people that are working there. And that is not really a way that you can properly run a kitchen. Or at least is a way that you shouldn't run a kitchen. Everyone who works in a kitchen, hopefully, is professional. And if you're going to have a really good professional kitchen, especially at that level, the people that are working there actually give a shit. You don't get into fine dining just by, sticking your thumb up your ass and chopping some vegetables. And so this type of dynamic really reinforces a lot of the toxic behavior that people who don't understand Gordon Ramsay and aren't in that environment try to emulate. Because, sure, you can say, hey, they signed up for it, they know what Gordon Ramsay is like, and they're okay with that type of management style. And that's perfectly fine. However, that doesn't mean that every single person needs to act like Gordon Ramsay, because not every person is Gordon Ramsay. If people want to work under a master chef who's a dick, and that's just how they are, then that is definitely their prerogative. But if you ain't... What I'm saying is that if you ain't got Gordon Ramsay's dick, you need to stop swinging like you do. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of one of the things that Burnt really encapsulates that type of very, for me, toxic management style. And it kind of plays it off as, oh, this is what it is to be a chef, which is insulting. There are a lot of different ways to be a chef. There are a lot of different ways to run a kitchen. And it's very disingenuous to say that this mostly toxic way of doing it is the right way or the inevitable way. It is not a natural state of affairs. Gordon Ramsay is a distinctive and polarizing character and should not be the only person that you emulate as a chef. I think there's a few other issues that they do, and honestly, that's kind of the big thing, is that throughout the film, you can definitely tell that there was some involvement with the culinary world, with the culinary industry, but I definitely feel that it is a very either outdated or a very outsider look at it. Another aspect, and this was another conversation, because we talked about this movie quite a bit in this relationship, is the idea of Michelin stars. Not every chef wants a Michelin star. Not every chef holds Michelin stars as the end-all be-all of cooking. And there are definitely people that want Michelin stars. There are definitely people that enjoy fine dining, that, want to gain Michelin stars, and they very much want to go that very traditional pathway in the fine dining industry. And I realize this came out in 2015, so there's definitely been some changes in the last 5-6 years. But nowadays in modern cooking, a Michelin star is not worthless. Obviously, it is a very, prestigious thing, but it's not necessarily something that defines what is seen as a good cook. And the culinary industry, we're definitely seeing a sort of shying away from fine dining into more sort of mid-level dining is what I would really call it. So we're seeing really high-end street food, we're seeing gastropubs, we're seeing pop-up restaurants, we're seeing different styles of cooking that provide high-class food, but not necessarily in an exclusive, opulent environment. We're definitely shying away from the traditional fine dining aspects and focusing more on stylized, well-made food. And that doesn't necessarily fit with this sort of prestigious haute cuisine of yore. And a lot of it has to do with a lot of changing of dynamics of the way that people eat. And so a Michelin star definitely feels almost like a relic. of, like, it's traditional, but it's definitely something that feels a little outdated for someone to be obsessed with. That's not... And what Michelin has actually done, what the Michelin Guide has done over the years, has actually expanded what type of... Give me a second. What the hell? So somehow I managed to skip past my own live stream. Don't know how that happened. Basically, a Michelin store... Michelin Guide has basically changed the requirements and the types of restaurants they look at. And so Michelin is now trying to find a more inclusive way of looking at restaurants, because they realized the restaurants they choose are not necessarily ones that encapsulate the way that people eat. And so Burnt is, in some levels, a very true-to-form movie. I think it has some nice things to say about food in general, but it definitely isn't a perfect encapsulation of kitchen culture. And I think that that's something that me, as a cook, someone who actually takes kitchen culture very seriously, was a bit critical of. And that's fine. Obviously, most cooks are not filmmakers. And so there's obviously going to be some issues where it's not perfectly true to life. But it is something that I want to talk about, especially when it has those sort of Hollywood chefs, when it has that sort of Gordon Ramsay management style. And I want people to know that that's not necessarily something that you, as a person, should emulate. That it is partially fictional and not necessarily what you want to see in a healthy kitchen environment. So, next up is But I'm a Cheerleader, which I love. Gorgeous. 10 out of 10 stars. I love this movie so much. Please marry me, Natasha Lyonne. I found out about this movie from watching Russian Doll because Jamie Babbitt was one of the co-directors, I believe. Natasha Lyonne, Jamie Babbitt, and some other person who's amazing and wonderful, I forgot your name, sorry, directed Russian Doll, and this is basically where they first met. Okay, somehow I keep skipping ahead of my live stream, but I know that I'm good, so... Jamie Babbitt, 1999, a comedy of sexual disorientation. Megan is an all-American girl, a cheerleader. She has a boyfriend, but Megan doesn't like kissing her boyfriend very much, and she's pretty touchy with her cheerleader friends. Her conservative parents worry that she might be a lesbian and send her off to sexual redirection school, where she must, with other lesbians and gays, learn how to be straight. You're like, wow, Ryan, that sounds fucked up AF, but actually... It's amazing, okay? But I'm a Cheerleader is literally just this hilarious, amazing camp comedy. And you're like, how do you make conversion therapy funny? And it's like, they manage. It's so far removed while also dealing with, like, these aspects of queerness. And also lesbians. Like, Natasha Lyonne straight up gets a girlfriend at the end of it, and it's great. And one thing I really love about But I'm a Cheerleader is that the whole movie is not poking fun at conversion therapy, it's poking fun at the sort of people that believe in it. It's poking fun at this sort of like binary of gender and these rigid gender roles and really this concept of heteronormativity in general. And so one thing I really love about this movie is that Natasha Lyonne is this high femme woman. And she maintains her feminineness throughout the film. And that's not really something that you necessarily get to see in depictions of queer people. I feel like, for better or worse, a lot of queer representation really goes very strongly into the sexual invert trope. Basically, in the early 19th century, there was this idea of sexual inversion, which is this idea that, gay people or queer people of any type essentially adopt a more feminine or masculine approach opposite of their gender. Essentially, men are more feminine, women are more butch. And so you definitely see how that carries down throughout the years. You begin seeing these Nance characters, which are a lot more effeminate, which I feel like true Nance characters are almost not queer-coded in a modern sense. They just really don't read that way to a modern sensibility because we don't have the cultural sort of like basis for it. But yeah, basically you really see a lot of like butching up of queer characters, or for gay men regardless of their expression. Like I think a lot about the Bears from that one episode of Two Broke Girls, and it's like they still have like a lot of traditional like queen tropes, and they still talk with the gay voice, even though they are very much presented as a hyper mask or butch gay man. And so that always felt really disconcerting because it's a very different form of gender expression of queer gender expression, but you still see this very specific and very narrow view of what a queer man and a queer person is in Hollywood most of the time. Even if they're putting on basic aesthetic performance. You know what I'm saying? Like, Hollywood has the idea, oh, there's different gay fashion styles, but they don't really get that. There's an ethos to it. Point being is that she's high femme, she stays high femme, and Jimmy Babbitt is very clearly saying, hey, just because I'm being trad femme doesn't mean that I can't also like Kitty, which we stand. Love you, Natasha Lyonne. Thank you. Next up is everyone's absolutely awaited for movie, 2021's Candyman. This was directed by Nia DaCosta and I believe Jordan... I keep wanting to say Jordan Peterson, and if Jordan Peterson ever makes a movie, I will watch it, but I will judge it. And so it has Jordan Peele. Yes. Okay, Jordan Peele apparently co-wrote this with Nia DaCosta. So I did not know he wrote it. I thought he only produced it. And... okay, so... I'm going to look at my review for this. Oh, let me actually read you the description. Dared to say his name. Anthony and his partner move into a loft in the now gentrified Cabrini. After a chance encounter with an old-timer exposes Anthony to the true story behind Candyman, he nearly opens the door to a complex past and unravels his own sanity and unleashes a terrifying wave of violence. So, this is one of those things where you have a really good director, but you have a really mediocre script. And that sounds super fucking bitchy. And hello, hi, I'm a bitch. So, that's kind of the thing, is that Nia DaCosta is a really talented cinematographer, and you see a lot of really fascinating and interesting visual language throughout the film. However, I feel like Jordan Peele was just not as strong of a writer as the original writer. Who was the original writer for Candyman? Sorry, give me a second. I just wanted to, like, let's see, was it both? Was it Clive Barker? Sorry, I know, you're like, I don't care, I just want you to, like, tell me where you're putting this, but I'd like... okay, it was Bernard Rose. So, yeah, I don't think that Jordan Peele is as strong of a writer as Bernard Rose was in the original, at least for this film. I know he's made some really great movies, and that's one thing I was really excited for, is he's really sort of encapsulated horror noir, which is a little bit of a joke. It's the name of a documentary about black representation in horror. But yeah, basically he's really defined the black horror movie in recent years, and so I was really excited to see his take on this, because Candyman is such a quintessential horror movie, and one that definitely was meant to be about race. It definitely was a movie with social commentary. It is very much an art horror film. And so I'm expecting to see a lot of this social commentary, because literally the whole thing is very political. The whole film and its meta text is just political. And there's no way to really, like, see it outside of that fact. And I feel like he just really did not at least develop the ideas as well as he could. I feel like there's really two main themes to Candyman in the remake. One, this idea of justification, and two, this idea of, I guess, generational trauma, which both I feel like were in the original film, just not as deliberately and explicitly stated, but they also really don't do enough to describe it. There's a lot of telling in this movie without actually showing the effects. So in the original film, there's literally a scene where the main character is discussing how she lives in an apartment that was supposed to be Cabrini Greens, but they decided to renovate it and make it into a white apartment, and she pays, and it's a buku box, it's boho chic, you know what I mean? It's very much this sort of like trendy loft type building. It's the same building, the clientele is different. That one scene is already being, hey, redlining exists, gentrification exists. There's a reason why this apartment is different, and it's because you're white. And it very much is like, this criticism of class and privilege. And the whole original movie is dealing with these issues, and it's very much invoking these tropes intentionally. It's invoking the black super predator trope intentionally. The fact that the main character is a white woman is important to the fucking plot. It's the entire dynamic. It's saying, hey, here's something. Here is this reputation. Here is this deliberate, visual imagery. There is a reason why we are putting this on screen. Every single thing with Candyman seems very intentional. From the pacing and the sequence of orders and the way that the folk stories are told, everything about the original movie feels incredibly intentional. It feels incredibly pointed. It feels like I am making this, I am choosing this deliberately. For Candyman, the new Candyman, why? What does it say about gentrification? Why does this character dying really say about anything else? And so it's like, it's not a bad film. It just isn't really saying anything new or even the thing. It's like high technical value, and the story is just like, that was a film. And I just really wish that there was more. I really wanted to have a story from a black perspective that really underlined and described these issues in a way that wasn't you know what I mean? And it's just really difficult because the more black films I watch, or ones that center around the black experience, whether this is exploitative or not, are definitely making a point. They're saying, hey, we cast these people in a certain way. We're saying this about the establishment, and it was a disappointment for me. I think so. I'm just going to read you my original one. Yeah, the script isn't deliberate in the themes they set up. Compared to its legacy of the original, it flunders in its commentary. So, yeah, I could have just said that, but I wanted to, shit on it for 15 minutes. Thank you. How long have we been streaming? We've been doing this for an hour already. Yay. We've gone for, 10 movies. Gonna be here to midnight, fams. So, next up is Feminist Masterpiece. This is alphabetized, so this was not the order I watched it in. So this is Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle. Give me a second. I can't fucking spell today. You expect me to spell Avocado Jungle of Death? Excuse you? You expect me to spell? Gross. This was Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death. 1989 by J.F. Lawton. These women are serious about their taste in men. Teehee, get it? The U.S. government, eager to protect the nation's avocado supplies, recruits feminist professor Margot Hunt to make contact with the Piranha Women, an all-female tribe who believe men are only good as the source of food. Accompanying Dr. Hunt on her trip are Jim, it is plural, a guy of questionable competence, and Bunny, a student of unquestionable incompetence. I love Buddy. Buddy shows up in this 1890s explorer khakis, and they're hot pink, and she has their little cork helmet, and it's hot pink, and she's a fucking vibe. I love Bunny. Okay, I just need to know why Dr. Hunt and Bunny did not get together. I demand queer representation. Oh, also Margaret Hart was Shannon Tweed, who... Was Shannon Tweed? No, that was Sharon Stone. Okay. Me just, constantly confusing any actress with the word S in her name. I'm just were you in an erotic thriller where you played a bisexual? I just need to know. Because a surprising amount of them have. Anyway, not the point. Cannibal Holocaust. You can tell I'm, just feeling myself right now. Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death is... I loved it. It is this hilarious comedy. There's some icky moments, but it is just... It's so funny. I watched this on Elvira, and this is the perfect Elvira film. I watched all 14 days of Elvira, by the way, so you're going to see all of them here. Anyway. One of my favorite lines from this is... So, Shannon Tweed, finds the Piranha Women, and I don't remember who the chick that, plays the, rival doctor... Oh, there's a rival doctor. It didn't tell you, but this totally is a rival doctor. And so I'm just trying to get to the Campbell Women again. There we go. And it's played by Adrienne Barbeau. It is. I love her. It's the most like campish B movie like setup ever. It's great, and she's just like, oh, we prepared you a man to eat because we're literal man eaters as radical feminists. Get it? And Shannon tweets like, oh, I'm not going to kill him, but in deference to your culture, I will fuck him. And it's just, I love that. It's just like, oh, I mean, like, in deference for that culture, I guess I can get dick down, tee-hee. So yeah, Cannibal Women in the Holocaust Jungle. I keep saying Holocaust. There's a film called Cannibal Holocaust, if you don't know. It's like quintessential to the cannibal boom genre, which is what this is parodying. So anyway, the Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death is just, I loved it. I will call it a feminist masterpiece every day, even though it is literal trash, in the same way that I say that, what is it? What do I tell people to piss them off? Oh, that, Lethal Weapon. No, sorry. The Die Hard is a Christmas movie. You know, it's that vibe. Next up is Chocolate City. See, they call it Chocolate City because I'm the mayor, and also all of our strippers are black. Which, actually, not the case. One of the strippers was Hispanic or Latino, I'm not sure which one. Directed by Jean-Claude Lemaire, which, why does that name sound so familiar? What else has he done? Has he done anything I've seen? Why does that name sound familiar? It does not look like, I don't recognize any of these. So maybe I just imagine that name being familiar. 2015, so I saw the sequel for this on Netflix, and so I'm just like, I have got to see this. It looked so trashy, and it was trash. And so this was life for a struggling college student changes in an instant when he meets the owner of a male strip club who convinces to give amateur night a whirl. This movie is hot garbage. Also, if you're watching this, Kenny JD, please do a review of this. I would love to hear you review this. It's great. So yeah, this guy named Robert Richard, who kind of looks like the black version of that guy from Mr. Robot. I want to say Anton Yelchin, but that is not him. It is a completely different dude. And honestly, he probably doesn't look anything like him. That's just who he reminds me of. It's his face. Like, his face is just, like, slightly uncanny for me, and I don't get it. But yeah, have you ever thought, is it possible to make a movie where watching strippers strip is boring? And the answer is yes. Eventually, you get tired of watching the undulations. And this movie is it's so slow. It's like, I haven't seen Showgirls, but like, from what I've heard of the description of the plot, it's like that. Whereas like, he just keeps getting like, promoted for no reason. It's like, oh, you've been working here for a week? You can get off the floor and now you're going to be on the stage show. And I'm just like, what has he done to deserve this? Nothing. Why is his brother in the script? He isn't even like a good manager. Why are you going to give him a management position if he's not going to manage? And also, can we just talk about the fact that his brother was like, oh, my brother was like being courted to be a sex worker? Don't worry, bro. You should do sex work so I can be a parasite and leech off of you. Can you imagine being like, hey, Sib, could you just become a pimp, like an escort so I can pimp you out? Because that's basically what his brother is doing. And it's meant to be like this big scary drama where he's like, I'm sorry, mama, I get like, way over my head by being a male stripper. And I'm just like, why is that a bad thing? Why are you weirdly demonizing sex work in the last 15 minutes? And what's shameful about you being a sex worker, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to put this in so bad it's bad. It's not a good film. It's very boring. And honestly, yeah, like, what was that ending? Okay, why are we being shitty towards sex workers? That's not nice. Sex workers deserve payment and also validation. Speaking of sex workers, let's talk about Pam Grier. Not that I'm saying that she's a sex worker or that, but mostly just because literally in every single one, not in every single one of her films, but like a good majority of her AIP films, she plays or at least pretends to be an escort. I don't think I've seen a blaxploitation film yet that doesn't literally have at least one, like, prostitute in it, which is #problematic. But also, I feel like in some way a little liberating. You know what I mean? There isn't like this... For me, I don't feel like there's a giant shame in these women being escorts in these films. That's just, a profession they have. And sure, it's a little titillating. But it's at least, like, very much not shame that, oh, you're selling your body. It's like, no. They're making their bank. They get in their paycheck. And maybe the institution that is prostituting them is corrupt. But they ain't the host's fault, is what we say. I really need to watch this. So, Coffee is directed by Jack Hill. Jack Hill or John Hill? Sorry, I just need to make sure that we're actually... Are we still going? Sorry, I didn't mean to stop real quick. I just want to make sure that we're actually doing good because... Okay. There we go. I just want to make sure the stream is going okay. Okay, cool. So it looks like we have dropped some frames, so sorry about that, guys. I literally cannot fix that. And I wouldn't know how to, even if I could. But basically, I'm also probably not going to rewatch this because it's going to be like hours long. Basically, Coffee is Direct Hill, 1973. I'm just going to keep going. The baddest one-chick hit squad that ever hit town. After a younger sister gets involved in drugs and is severely injured by contaminated heroin, a nurse seeks out on a mission of vengeance and vigilante justice, killing drug dealers, pimps, mobsters who cross her path. So, I feel like this is going to go in all right films, just because I think that as, like, her films go, I think this is probably Pam Grier's most genuine acting experience. I definitely think they gave her character something to go on, and so it's a lot less campy action flick. Pam Grier really has some really great moments of, like, true, like, good acting chops, where she's, like, really trying to convince somebody of someone. And I just think that should be, like, definitely recognized that she had a really great performance here, outside of her sort of, like, campy performance, because there are different modes and styles of acting, and I want to recognize that, because I think that's something that we definitely don't recognize these days. That being said, I just don't think that Coffee is necessarily, like, that great of a film, given her, like, later movies. I think it has some interesting stuff to say. I liked it for what it was, but it wasn't, like, my favorite Pam Grier film. So next up is Coraline, and I'm going to talk about Foxy Brown pretty soon, and that's going to really explain some stuff, because Foxy Brown is basically the spiritual successor of it. Coraline was directed by Henry Selick, 2009, based off of the Neil Gaiman novel. Be careful what you wish for. When Coraline moves to an old house, she feels bored and neglected by her parents. She finds a hidden door with a bricked-up passage. During the night, she crosses the passage and finds a parallel world where everyone has buttons instead of eyes. With Karen parents and all her dreams coming true, when the other mother invents Coraline to stay in their world forever, the girl refuses and finds out that the alternate reality where she is trapped is only a trick to lure her. So, Coraline is immediately going, and you need to watch this right now. What? You haven't seen this? Fuck you, go watch it. I love this movie. It was just beautifully animated. It was creepy. But, like, it was great. Watch the damn movie. I can't explain how much I love this movie. So I'm going to stretch real quick because we've been doing this for an hour. Ooh, you can hear the crackle there. Next up is Creepshow, and I don't know if I mentioned it, but I actually do want to... Actually, give me a second. Oh, good. My nose is kind of runny. Yeah, Ryan, do it directly in front of the mic where they can all hear you. I want to eventually do a review of every single Stephen King novel and, like, adaptation ever made. And you're like, wow, Ryan, that's ridiculous. And yeah, it kind of is. But, sorry. I know I keep... So you keep seeing I have, like, 22, like, dropped frames, and that terrifies me, but we're going to take a deep breath. Oh. Oopsie daisy. I'm gonna get drunk. I need to relax. I am so fucking uptight right now. I'm gonna go with the Guinness, because that way we can, like, finish off with, like, sweet. So this Creepshow is written by Stephen King and directed by sounds like me. Excuse you. apparently my Guinness needs to be a little, bitch about it. Damn. And I thought that I was messy. So Creepshow was written by George A. Romero, written by Stephen King, and it's sort of an adaptation of a bunch of 1950s, 60s horror comics. It's an homage to those types of stories. And so Creepshow in the movie is basically this horror comic, and you get what I'm saying. I think this is the first anthology film that we have of this stream, so there you go. I do love a good anthology film, though we do not watch enough of them on this channel. Oof. I would love an Irish car bomb. All these at work drink Irish car bombs all the time, and I'm just like, why can't you do that at home? You know what I mean? It's just, they waste all this money buying Irish car bombs, and it's like, I mean, it's fun, but dude, that's literally so much money. Anyway. So basically, Creepshow is an anthology film, and I need to fucking read the description. The most fun you'll ever have, being scared. Inspired by the EC comics of the 1950s, George A. Romero and Stephen King bring 5 tales of horror to the screen. This was it was a fun time. I wasn't I feel like Creepshow is the type of thing that's aimed towards children, but if children actually watched it, it would terrify them. So it's aimed towards kids who are nostalgic for R.L. Stine. Even though this came out years before anyone would have have nostalgia for R.L. Stine. You get what I'm saying? It's the same vibe though. It's R.L. Stine horror is basically what I'm saying. I think it was pretty fun. It was well directed. It was a very just light, tongue-in-cheek movie, and I honestly kind of like that the directors are enjoying themselves and making something that they are into. I always love to see movies that are a passion project. Speaking of passion projects, let's talk about Del Toro, because I love this movie. So I'm not going to give me a second, Crimson Peak, everyone's media darling Guillermo del Toro. 2015, Love Makes Monsters of Us All. Well, I've watched a lot of movies from 2015 this year. In the aftermath of a family tragedy, an aspiring author is torn between her love for a childhood friend and the temptation of a mysterious outsider. Trying to escape the ghost of her past, she is swept away to a house that breathes, bleeds, and remembers. Oh, this movie is so good. This movie was just we are going to make this late Victorian, and they mean literally late Victorian. This is set in 1901, which is technically the last year that is Victoria. And so you're seeing that beautiful 1900s look, and she has just some great ass outfits. All the outfits in this movie are so fucking hot. I remember literally the most smallest inconsequential outfit. I love that during one of the office scenes she's wearing this shirtwaist, and it's literally a blouse, one of those big shirtwaist blouses, and she's wearing this big fat tie. And I love that so much because it's totally the type of thing a Victorian woman would wear in an office. And I'm just ooh, you're serving executive realness, and basically I'm just gonna have to say it, I'm super hot for female executive realness in the 1900s. They're we're a riding habit with those box pleats. And I'm just please step on me. Ugh, fucking mommy. Anyway, me just being so fucking horny for turn of the century clothing. But yeah, this movie was a vibe. The clothing was so good. This was every single Poe story ever. It was so gothic. I loved it. And I don't think the story was amazing, because you could totally tell what was happening. You could totally see everything coming, but the vibes. This movie is one of those things where it's just the vibes, you know what I mean? But when something A Cure for Wellness, it's the vibes, but this is just the vibes. It's you don't care because the vibes are just so immaculate. So, speaking of immaculate vibes, let's get into everyone's leather daddy fetish and talk about cruising. Ooh, 1980s, directed by William Friedkin, and starring Al Pacino. So here's a fun fact. Apparently, this is editorializing, William Friedkin is a dirty fucking freak, okay? Apparently to, research for this movie, he was like, oh, I need to learn about leather gay clubs in the 70s. He was just like, let me just show up to this leather gay club in a fucking jockstrap and, see what happens. And I'm just like, sure, Friedkin. You were just, just researching, just experimenting. And it's like, we all know why you were there, Friedkin. You don't have to lie. We know why you were there. And so, yeah, Cruising is a movie that is based off true events, supposedly. It was inspired by a bunch of murders in the 70s. And a little bit of trivia fact, apparently Friedkin may have actually met the actual killers. Because because one of the guys that was convicted of one of the murders had a cameo in his previous film, The Exorcist. Oh yeah, I forgot. Friedkin made The Exorcist. It's just like, just this random guy. Also, he's made The French Connection, 12 Angry Men, and The Exorcist. Just nobody famous. Just dirty Friedkin. I love how I'm fucking just king shaming this damn bitch. Al Pacino is cruising for a killer. A serial killer brutally slays and dismembers several gay men in a New Year's S&M and leather districts. The young police officer, Steve Burns, is sent undercover onto the street as decoy for the murder. Working almost completely isolated from his department, he has to learn and practice the complex rules and signals of this little society. You know what they say about serial killers. We are everywhere. Hopefully you like my little joke. But yeah, this movie was... I'm gonna put it in I liked it, because I'm a little freak. Yeah, this movie was basically like Al Pacino just being like vicarious for an hour and a half, and me just being like, damn, I really want some leather pants. I might buy leather pants because of this movie. Yeah, this movie is basically like what Showgirls, but instead of titties, it's like leather gays. And so you're really getting like that classic like late 70s like leather culture, and it is so fucking hot, not gonna lie. No, this movie was a vibe. I don't think the plot was like actually like even that great, but like it was kind of scandalous and kind of risque, and I was just really enjoying it. This was also on Girls Gussing Jell-O. Basically, if I watch a give from the 70s and 80s and it's like hottish, it's like super sexual, it's basically Girls Gussing Jell-O, because... Okay, give me a second, let me find her name so I can shout her out, because I feel bad of just like saying the name of the podcast as if that's like, the host. Annie Rose Malamet. I say it like she isn't already like famous in her own circle. Oh, just this little woman who already does stuff and is amazing and so much cooler and famous and better at movies than me. Me just noticing that there's like new episodes that I need to watch, even though I haven't seen even seen half of them. Anyway, so yeah, Cruising is great. I've seen a lot of stuff from Girls Gussing Jell-O now. I'm gonna watch more eventually. I just have to like get around to it. So next up is I watched both Dark Water movies. Okay, like the vest is cute, but I'm really not feeling the vest right now. I'm gonna get comfy. Ugh. I'm gonna get comfy. So Dark Water is a 2002 film directed by Hideo Nakata, and this is actually adapted from a short story by the same guy who wrote The Ringu. And like The Ring, this also got a 2005 American adaptation, which we will rank after this. So, a woman in the midst of an unpleasant divorce moves to an eerie apartment building with her young daughter. The ceiling of the apartment has a dark and active leak. So yeah, that's pretty much the plot. I'm going to put both the 2002 and 2005 film in personal recommendation. I liked it because I really enjoyed both of these films. And that's kind of the thing, though, is that a lot of people hate the 2005 version, but it really is... And I thought, it's going to be like one of those like really badly made, like... horror movies, you know, like one of those ones that's trying to be like, you know, full line studios, but it ain't got full line studios money, and so all like, you know, the scares are really cheap. Okay, that's cute. I should start doing my hair this way. But no, like, it's actually a really well done, like, you know, movie. Both of them are. And I feel for me, the original Dark Water is very much like a traditional Japanese ghost story. It's very, you know, it's very gothic, it's very sad, and it's very, like, you know, it's very much a Japanese film. And 2005 Dark Water it's American. And it's a great film. It's not American in a bad way. It is a solid horror movie. It still has gothic vibes, but it's a very different ethos and aesthetic. And I think that's kind of like the nice thing, that it's definitely two interpretations of the same story, but both of them are so defined by the culture they're in. And so if you want a very Japanese ghost story, you know, and you're watching the 2005 one, you're not going to get that, because it's very much like this late 90s, really well-made ghost story. And it's just, I love both of them. I think they're both great. I love the story. I would personally recommend you watch Dark Water if you're into, like, you know, Japanese horror, and also just watch the 2005 remake so you can tell me this is actually trash. And I am bad at watching movies. I just don't get it. Next up is Dead Con, which I remember there was Dead Con, and then there was a TV show with a similar premise that I watched this year, and they were both trash, so now you know. Dead Con, Death is Trending. I have not seen a good influencer horror movie. And I feel like techno horror is always a tricky genre, and I know most people hate techno horror films. This actually, I wouldn't really call it a techno horror film at all, even though it deals with influencers. I guess this would really just be a... If I had to really pick it, I guess I would probably call it just like a haunted house or just a possession film. But Death is Trending. The horrors and isolation of being a social media influencer run rampant when a collection of YouTube and Instagram stars soon discover there are things scarier than thousands of teenagers on their phones asking for selfies. So, first of all, this is kind of one of those films I really wish they had actually cast real influencers in, because I feel like if you're going to have an influencer movie, you either really need to have, like, actual name brand influencers, or you need to, like... I love how I'm saying this, even though I was, like, really critical of Burnt and, like, the way that they emulated real-life celebrities, but I feel like if you're going to have this sort of, like, horror comedy with influencers, why not get actual influencers so that it, like, leads into it, but there also hasn't been any good movies like that. So yeah, basically it's like influencers, but what if ghosts murder? And there's actually, the aesthetic was not bad. Like, there was some pretty good, like, cinematography. There's actually a still from the film, which, yeah, I think I, like, screen printed that. No, it's called screen printing. It's print screen, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah, so it's like, the cinematography wasn't bad, but at the same time, the movie was shit. Like, it was one of those really, like, oh no, that's not the right one, so that's bad. There we go. It was one of those films that just did not deserve to have. It was not well made. So, next up is Death of Me, and I originally thought that this was a Indonesian film because it was set, like, in that sort of, like, area. I guess it's just somewhere like South Pacific, so I'm assuming that it was, like, you know, an Indonesian or similar, like, you know, cinema. But this is actually American made. It was by Darren Lynn Bousman, where do I know that name from? Oh, Saw. Yeah. Bousman did Saw, and he also did Repotogenic Opera, which, I love Bousman, so that kind of surprised me that I wasn't overtaken by this film. I think this was another date night movie, which is me. 2020, True Love Takes Sacrifice. A couple on holiday on a remote South Pacific island awakens one morning with a hangover and no collection of what transpired. When playing back a video of the previous night, they see they participated in a local ritual that somehow ends with him murdering her. So yeah, this was, like, very folk horror, very, like, 2010s horror, but with a budget, you know what I mean? And I liked it. I'm probably going to put this in... Ooh. I'm going to put it in personal recommendation, even though I didn't really... I fell asleep, but that was mostly just because I was a little tired. It was date night, you get it. I just love how I'm always like I'm either like super coy about shit, or I'm just like, let me tell you which of my holes got filled. No, I'm just teasing. Sorry, my friend just texted me. He's about 4 hours ahead, and he's just like, it doesn't get better. And I'm just like, gosh damn it. So, let's see. Next up is 2018's Delirium. Delirium. There we go. Delirium. I barely even know her. Why did I choose a Guinness? I like Guinness, but I'm not into that. Dennis Elatus, which I don't know if your name rhymes, but now it does. 2018. It's all in your head. Really? Is that how this works? A man recently released from a mental institute at Harrison Mansion after his parents die. After a series of disturbing events, he comes to believe it is haunted. Topher Grace is the main character in this. Topher Grace is that guy from the 70s show, and also, I try not to shame comedic actors for playing in, dramas, and because I think they can do a really good job. I always want to congratulate people on range. It's difficult for me to really not see him as the dude from the 70s show. So, Delirium, I think, was... I'm going to put alright film. I don't... Give me a second. It's going to look weird, but I'm just, slowly slipping out of my work pants. I'm oh. I've been, working for, 10 hours, and I'm just, trying to get comfy. So, no, I'm like Markiplier. Just to let you know, I'm always a mess. Just to let you know that. Oh, it feels so nice. Me just, finally comfy. I had a belt on, and I'm just oh. So, yeah. Delirium was just... It was one of those movies that's is this, supernatural, or is it, real? And I just... I wasn't vibing with it, to be honest. It wasn't a bad film, but it's just a film. You know what I mean? So this is another Elvira film, and this is Deadly Toys. Right? Demonic Toys? See, I can... Give me a second. Demonic Toys, there we go. Because I'm basing it off of, what I can see from the title. So, sometimes I can't actually read it just because, it's too tiny. Also, don't judge me, but I just spelled demonic as Denom. And that might be why it's not showing up, on screen. Not to be confused with the movie Demonic, which I watched last year. Where the hell... I have a blanket, on... I'm, just fell off. So I'm just where's my blanket? Demonic Toys. Directed by Peter Manoogian. 1992. This was another Elvira. So, Elvira... 13 Years of Elvira, teamed up with Full Moon Productions. And so a good portion of their films were... from that period, more of from the catalog. So Demonic Toys is kind of one of their 90s era, which is kind of height Full Moon, and they had a whole bunch of ones that were Demonic Toys. They did Puppet Master. They did Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys. They have a few of these campy tiny monster type movies. They want to play with you. I really need to stop scratching my eczema. A botched bust on a pair of arms dealers inevitably leads to the raising of a 66-year-old demon with the power to bring toys to life as his personal minions. The demon is looking for a body to inhabit so he can increase his powers, and it just so happens that one of the police officers is pregnant with an ideal host. So this is one of these campy B-movies with the demons. Obviously, this is under So Bad It's Good. Well, our first one. Love that for us. And so, yeah, it was a time. It was silly, and they're actually making they're making a new movie. I think it's called like Oopsie Baby something. And Oopsie Baby is like this foul mouth talking like baby doll from the original movie. And it's like, Oopsie Baby says fuck you. Can you say that? And it's the funniest shit. I love it so much. So next up is Dolomite, directed by D'Urville Martin, 1975. With his all-girl army of Kung Fu killers, Dolomite is a pimp who is set up by Willie Green and the cops, who are planting drugs, stolen furs, and guns in his trunk and got him sentenced to 20 years in jail. One day, Queen Bee and a warden plan to get him out of jail and get Willie Green and Mitchell busted for what they did to him. So, I just want you to know that Dolomite did not have enough prostitutes beating people up with Kung Fu. I'ma just say it. Okay? I was promised Kung Fu baddies being bad bitches, and I was given no Kung Fu baddies being bad bitches. So, Dolomite's a vibe. He was fun, but at the same time, it's like, this is one of those films that's like trash, but a cult classic. And I definitely got the trash part. I didn't necessarily fall in love with this the way I have with other sort of campy blaxploitation films. So, you know, it was a vibe, but it wasn't like my exact vibe. Next up is another 13 Days of Elvira film, and that, well, you know what I'm saying. It was featured in the 13 Days of Elvira. You get the fuck I'm saying. Dollman, Albert Prion, 1991. He's the toughest cop on the planet, Arcturus, but on Earth he's in over his head. It's because he's tiny. Brick Bardo is a traveler from outer space who is forced to land on Earth. Though regular size on his home planet, he is doll sized here on Earth, as are the enemy forces who have landed as well. While Brick enlists the help of an impoverished girl and her son, the bad guys enlist the help of a local gang. When word leaks out of his location and all hell breaks loose, Brick is besieged by an onslaught of curious kids, angry gang members, and his own doll-sized enemies. He must protect the family who has helped him and get off the planet alive. So, this was starred by Tim Thomerson, who is kind of like Full Moon Productions, like Silver Fox at the time. He plays in a few movies where he's just like kind of is like this daddy, you know what I mean? And this one was alright. It kind of feels like 90s like gang exploitation, but like with a really tiny man. So just visiting meets Attack on Precinct 13. I haven't seen Attack on Precinct 13, but whatever. You get what I'm saying. Next up is Donnie Darko, and oh my god, this was so fucking good. I loved Donnie Darko. Jake Gyllenhaal is just great. Richard Kelly, 2001. You can never go too far. After nearly escaping a bizarre accident, a troubled teenager is plagued by visions of a large bunny rabbit that manipulates him to commit a series of crimes. I know that's the plot, but it just feels so weird to hear it described like that. Donnie Darko is a vibe. The cinematography is amazing. The casting is great. The music is great. Just watch this film. It's just fantastic. It's super trippy. It's super dark. And it's like also a sci-fi movie, which you would never think about, but it totally is. It's definitely one of those films you can watch like 100 times and be like, I want more. So there is one film from like, you know, I want to actually do basically next year I want to do this this idea where I call the names the same, where I watch movies or other things that have the same name. And one of these would be Escape Room, because I watched a few Escape Room movies this year. Not the 2019 popular Escape Room that just got a sequel this year, which I still need to watch. Oh, I should have watched that instead. Maybe we'll see if that's... Sorry, I'm getting distracted by my clothing. I have a loose thread. But this is 2017's Escape Room. Directed by Peter Dirks, not to be confused with 2018's Escape Room or 2019's Escape Room, or the 2017 sci-fi film No Escape Room. But yeah, directed by Peter Dirks, 2017, Let the Game Begin. Four friends who partake in a popular Los Angeles escape room find themselves stuck with a demonically possessed killer. They have less than an hour to solve the puzzles needed to escape the room alive. This is definitely like one of those like made-for-television movies. It was a vibe, like, I enjoyed it, but at the same time, what the fuck was this movie? The entire premise is like, hey, what if we, like, got an escape room, and we were like, hey, there's a killer at the end of it, and it's like, every couple minutes, like, the chain gets extended, but what if it was an actual killer? That's literally the plot. It's basically like, what if the danger was real, and also you have to solve this room's shitty traps. And it was actually, like, done fairly well. It's just, like, was trash, you know what I mean? It was pleasant trash, okay? Next up is Evil Bong, which I also want to do a video on. I low-key want to just, like, smoke a fat joint and, like, watch every single Evil Bong movie. So, Charles Band, 2006. This was... I didn't watch the Elvira version, but this was an Elvira, like, 40 Nights of Elvira film. So, I watched this without the Elvira, like, riffing. A group of stoners inhale more than they bargained for when they smoke from an evil bong in this campy comedy. The guys play a vintage bong named EB from an ad in High Times magazine, but they have no idea the possessed pipe will gradually suck them into a horrifying, surreal world. As they fight for their lives, EB's former owner, none other than Tommy Chong, the only one who understands the power of the bong, tries to rescue them. So, I'm just... Yes! Go get my nice big body pillow that I totally don't hug every night because I'm sad and alone, and just shove it. Oh, it feels so nice. Me just like my back's just like sore. So yeah, Evil Bong is gonna go in So Bad It's Good because it's trash and I love it. Like, the movie's like a little slow, but I honestly can't imagine anyone watching Evil Bong and not smoking weed. Except for me, because I can't smoke weed. Because what I love. Anyway, Fargo, directed by Joel Cohen, 1996. Oh yeah, you betcha. A lot can happen in the middle of nowhere. Jerry, a small-town Minnesota car salesman, is bursting at the seams with debt. I love that imagery. You're bursting at the seams with negative money. But he's got a plan. He's going to hire two thugs to kidnap his wife in a scheme to collect a hefty ransom from his wealthy father-in-law. It's going to be a snap and nobody's going to get hurt. Until people start dying. Enter Police Chief Marge, a coffee-drinking, Parker-wearing, an extremely pregnant investigator who will stop at nothing to get her man. You think her small-time investigation skills will give the crooks a run for their ransom? Ya betcha. I'm going to put Fargo in personal recommendation. I liked it because it is a really fun movie. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about it. It's like, it's a vibe. It's like, so it's very much a Coen brother film. I feel like the Coen brothers have a really great way of sort of like creating this vast, like very lived in world and then just like vibing within it. So I liked it. It was good. So next up is, oh my god, it's Foxy Brown, Jack Hill, 1974. This is the first time I ever watched with Pam Grier, and I love this film so much. I've only seen it once, but... So, for instance, the one part I really don't like is there's a sexual assault scene in this film, so, trigger warning. And it really just... I really wish it didn't exist in the film. Or at least it was like kind of like played a bit differently. But Foxy Brown is just amazing. She is such a fucking queen. She is iconic. A chick with draft who don't take no job. I apologize for the black community. A voluptuous black woman takes a job as a high-class prostitute in order to get revenge on the mobsters who murdered her boyfriend. So yeah, it's like it was like a great blaxploitation film. It's like this like camp extreme version of blaxploitation, and I just loved every minute of it. Next up is Friday Foster. So this is another Pam Grier film. I kind of got into a Pam Grier hole, and Friday Foster was directed by Arthur Marks in 1975, and I believe it was based off a comic, actually. Don't quote me on that, though. Freddie Foster, an ex-model and magazine photographer, goes to Los Angeles International Airport to photograph the arrival of Black Tar. Sorry, Blake Tar, my bad. The richest black man in America. Black Tar. 3 men attempt to assassinate Tar. Foster's photographs the Malie and is plunged into a open conspiracy involving the murder of a childhood friend, a U.S. senator, and a shadowy plane called Black Widow. Also, Eartha Kitt is in this for, like, no reason. It's just Eartha Kitt. She's like, I have a fashion brand. Grr. That's how Eartha Kitt sounds like, right? I ain't a drag queen. I can't do Eartha Kitt. I'm gonna put this in so bad it's good because it's like, it's camp comedy. It's just, it's so, the movie isn't great, but like there's just these instances where it just goes over the top and it's so fucking stupid. And I love it. Like, this is like running bit, which I wish they did more. I would literally love to see an entire movie where they just like keep this running bit, where she just like steals like the most weirdest vehicles to do things in. Like, she literally gets to the final scene by stealing a milk truck, and when the guy's like, what are you doing here? She's just like, I'm delivering the goddamn milk, and then she hits him with a milk bottle, which is such a Pam, like, that is such a Pam Grier move, is hitting a dude with a milk bottle while saying a pithy one-liner. I love everything Sam Grier's ever done. She's great. I love her. She's great. I love her. Hedwig and the Angry Inch, John Cameron Mitchell. It does not surprise, like, let's be honest, it does not surprise me that John Cameron made this movie. Where do I know him from? He's been in shit, hasn't he? I guess he hasn't been in shit. Wait, no, I'm pretty sure he has been in shit, just, like, not as a, like, director. I'm pretty sure he's, like, done, like, soundtracks and stuff, though, right? That sounds about right. I'm sure, I know I've heard him, like, do some sort of, like, music thing. Anatomically Incorrect, that's saying something, Rock Odyssey. Raised a boy in East Berlin, Hedwig undergoes a personal transformation in order to immigrate to the U.S., where she reinvents herself as an internationally ignored but divinely talented rock diva, inhabiting a beautiful gender of one. So, this was in 2001, and I think it's complicated. So, on one hand, I'm just like, I love the queer rebellion of this, and the music is so beautiful. On the other hand, it's like, did J.K. Rowling write this? Because this movie, it's like someone tried to make like a heartfelt story about like a trans story, but the only thing they've ever read about trans people are like TERF hate blogs, because this movie literally plays into like every single TERF stereotype ever. Like, it's weird because like on one hand like queer rebellion, but also it's like so problematic. It's just like, it's layered. It's like literally layers and layers of like problematic storytelling where you're just like, dear Lord, like, and so it's like, I love this movie, but I also just, it's so icky at the same time. Like, you think about it for a second and you're just like, wow, that's just really messed up, like the way they depict things. And so you're like, it's high art, but it's also super flawed, and you're like, where do you go from there? Next up is Hellfest, directed by Gregory Plotkin. Fun going in, hell getting out. On Halloween night at a horror theme park, a costume killer begins slaying innocent patrons who believe it's all part of the festivities. I'm actually surprised this got 2.6 stars, because I thought this was actually pretty good. I'm looking at my friends' reviews on like Letterboxd, and they're all around like where I did it, about 3.5, which I'm gonna put this on Popcorn Film probably. I had a lot of fun with this. It was a vibe, you know. It's definitely something you should watch, like for Halloween, like, you know, just on a date night when it's like really casual. And there's this really great scene between Bex Taylor Claus, who is a non-binary femme icon, love them, and Tony Todd. Tony Todd is in this. Tony Todd like cameos. I love Tony Todd. Hi. Yeah, this was a fun movie. You know, I didn't have really much of an issue with it. Definitely feel free to watch that during Halloween. Ooh, I love this next one. Hideous. Charles Band, 1997, which was the year I was born. Excuse me. deformed, depraved, deadly. Dr. Lorca, an eccentric collector of biological oddities, has just acquired his greatest specimen, a horrible mutant born of toxic sewage. But the creature's rightful owner wants it back. The collector's clash is cut short, though, as the sickening specimen comes to life, reanimating an angry, oozy little army of ferocious freaks. So this is, like, once again, very much like Full Moon Productions of Ira. And I feel like I've seen this multiple times this year. Like, I might have watched it twice. Or I just thought about this movie a lot. Because I love this movie so much. Like, it's so bad it's good. But, like, I really love this film. It's a great, like, it's so campy, it's so dumb, and my favorite scene in this entire movie is basically this one where this guy's henchman goes to, like, steal the specimen, and it has, like, such Bond energy, because this guy is, like, super rich and evil, and his henchman is this, like, sexually provocative, like, very self-assured, like, I am woman, hear me roar type, like female henchman, right? It's very much, it's like, is it sexy, or is it just, like, aggressive, like, feminine, fatale type energy, you know what I mean? It's like, it's almost to the point where it's just like, hi, deal with it, you know what I mean? And so she literally is robbing this guy, and she is wearing a leather miniskirt, a gorilla mask, and she straight up has her titties out. Like, no cap, just titties, right? I actually have this as my Discord profile pic, but it's has a little censor bar. I took it from, like, this blog. I feel bad. Anyway, but for Discord, I mean, like, ain't nobody gonna, like, sue me on Discord. But yeah, like, she's got her titties out, and and this guy's like, hey, so I get why you're robbing me, but, like, why are your titties out? You have a gun. You don't need to distract me. And she's just like, it's called feminism. Look it up. Which, like, I kind of want to, like, totally read her character as this, like, aggressive, like, third wave, sex positive feminist. And it's like this, and the gorilla mask is, like, this obvious reference to, like, the Gorilla Girls poster from the Louvre. You know what I'm talking about. Because, obviously, you know a lot about 80s and 90s feminist ephemera. Anyway, but yeah, I love this movie. It's so stupid. It's honestly gonna make me act up because the whole cast is so fucking hot. But next up is Holidaysburg by Anna Martinucci. If you don't recognize the name of this film, this was a part of a 2014 reality show called The Chair, produced by I almost said Zac Efron, and that is not the right character. Zachary Quinto is who produced this. And Anna Martinucci is basically the person who made a movie alongside Shane Dawson, everyone's favorite YouTuber, I say with no sense of irony. I'm being very ironic. And so Holidaysburg is, let me just read it to you. Home for Thanksgiving break after her first semester at college, 5 friends discover just how much things change and don't after high school. It was fun. It was like this light, coming-of-age movie. It wasn't perfect, but, you know, I liked it. You know, it was a time. And I definitely did not mind it as much as I thought I would. It was a good film. Especially for, like, a debut director. Especially one that, like, you know, was not super strong of herself, you know, was a little, like, off her thing. She made, like, you know, a type of, like, nice slice of life, art house film that was wholesome. It was a vibe. Next up is Heart Garbage, but I have such feelings about this, okay? I really do. So, this is I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer by Sylvan White, and it's really what I would call a soft reboot. The premise is pretty much the same, but the rest of the film is, like, different. And Always Know What You Did Last Summer is a soft reboot of the original I Know What You Did Last Summer. And 2006, What He Knows Might Kill You. Several teenagers in a small town in Colorado concoct a July 4th prank based on a frightening legend that goes awry when a friend ends up accidentally killed. However, the teens agree to keep their involvement a secret from the authorities, who continue to search for the man who apparently killed their friend. A year later, the July 4th celebration coming again, the teenagers realize that they've been stalked by someone who clearly intends on keeping the horrible legend alive by killing them off. So, first of all, give Sylvan White, like, a good movie to direct, because every time he, like, tries to direct a movie, the premise is always shit, but he always has really interesting visuals. That's the thing, like, Sylvan White, like, definitely has talent, he definitely has promise, but he only seems to direct, like, horror movies that are, like, super fucking outdated. Okay, this movie came out 6 years after the sequel, and doesn't involve any of, like, the original cast. It's bad. It is a really horrible film. I reviewed this, and also, like, it looks like it was filmed on a potato, which I'm just like, he's such a, like, strong cinematographer. Also me, the film stock was grainy, and that doesn't even make sense, because it was probably digital at this point. Me just being a bitch, but, like, hey, I'm that bitch. So, next up is more trash, because I have, like, when I'm watching movies, I usually go between, like, let's watch something good and let's watch trash. And this was just, like, on my Netflix trash pile, because Netflix movies are either great or they are literal hot garbage, and there's no in between. Incarnate was Brad Payton 2016, Faith Has Failed Us. An exorcist comes against an evil from his past, where he uses his skills to enter the mind of a 9-year-old boy. So yeah, basically Incarnate features Aaron Eckhart. I thought he was a lot more famous. I don't know who the fuck that is. Basically imagine, what's that movie? Inception, but with demons. So like Dreamscape, but make it like, Conjuring. Oh my gosh, remember Dreamscape? Anyway. So yeah, basically, and it had the kid from Gotham in it, so that was weird seeing him in this. So I'm gonna put this in. This movie was bad. I'm sorry. Like, it sounds harsh, but it was like just a trash film. It had a really interesting high concept, which I liked, but, like, what did they do with it? And the acting was just gross. Also, like, one thing I do want to point out is that the main character is in a wheelchair, and I kind of like that they had a disabled main lead in a horror movie, because you never see that. Like, literally, you never fucking see that in a horror movie. When was the last time you saw a horror movie, besides Hush, and maybe Wait Until Dark? I mean, I guess Wait Until Dark is, like, not a horror movie. It's, like, a thriller. But point being, when do you see disabled characters in horror? You really don't. And there needs to be more disabled characters, okay? Fuck you with this ableism. Put more bitches in wheelchairs. Don't actually do that. But you know what I'm saying. Please have better representations of differently abled persons and how they can tell unique stories within this genre. And really just any speculative fiction genre. Inglourious Bastards. Quentin Tarantino, 2009. Once upon a time in Nazi-occupied France. In Nazi-occupied France during World War II, a group of Jewish-American soldiers known as the Bastards are chosen specifically to spread fear throughout the Third Reich by scalping and brutally killing Nazis. The Bastards, led by Lieutenant Alder Rain, soon cross paths with a French-Jewish teenage girl who runs a movie theater in Paris, which is targeted by the soldiers. Okay, this movie is great, okay? I know Tarantino's probably as fuck, but he makes good films. It had these amazing, like, it's really a masterclass in just, like, dialogue. Love this film. It was great. Some people complain that Inglourious Bastards is, like, not representative of, like, the Holocaust and that it's, like, this power fantasy, but at the same time, I would rather watch a movie like Inglourious Bastards that's like, hey, let's take, technically both main leads were Jewish, these characters and give them this sort of, like, power fantasy where we destroy, like, the Nazis, and it's very much like this sort of just, let's shoot Hitler in the face 50 times, let's take away the power that his visage has. I would rather watch a movie like that that's meant to, like, tell a story that's not commonly seen in these types of movies, and really just, allow it to be a power fantasy, allow someone to say, hey, I'm gonna shoot Hitler in the face, then watch something like Boy in the Striped Pajamas that literally exploits the pain and suffering of Jewish people, and and literally centers the feelings and emotions of a white protagonist. I hate the Boy in the Striped Pajamas so much. It's like, they literally say, they're like, hey, we're going to take this white protagonist, white by, like, you know, the standards of Nazi-occupied Germany, and be like, oh, he's like, oh, he died, that's a tragedy. I'm just like, bitch, it's the Holocaust, it's all a tragedy. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh, I'm supposed to be able to tell that this one child died in the Holocaust? That's my emotional stakes, my everyday man, my character, like, you know, whatever, my audience, what's it called? Audience surrogate? What the fuck is it called? Like, you know, I hate that movie. It's horrible and exploitative and honestly just offensive when you really think about how it's portrayed. Let's move on from this because I'm getting very angry thinking about that film and not just because I'm drinking a Guinness. Insomnia, Christopher Nolan, who he's made some good movies. He did Inception. He also did the Batman trilogy, Dark Knight trilogy. I need to rewatch that. So we were talking about comedic actors with range, and this was a movie where Robin Williams plays a non-comedic film. Robin Williams plays the villain, the antagonist, essentially. And on one hand, like, it's such a Robin Williams character. Like, he plays this, like, sort of older, like, you know, writer mentor type. And it's such, like, you know, a Williams type character. It very much feels him. But it's definitely played into this kind of, like, wolf in sheep's clothing type thing. Where it's like, yeah, I'm this, like, you know, he looks innocent, but he's really not. And I think that's really great typecasting. I think it's great when you can really cast somebody and you can really get the nuance and complexities of what they're seen as and like what sort of like roles they play. So Insomnia is a tough cop, a brilliant killer, and unspeakable crime. Two Los Angeles homicide detectives are dispatched to a northern town, where the sun is set to investigate the methodic murder of a local teen. So it's basically Al Pacino, like in all of his movies that I've seen. He just goes a little crazy and shit happens. And it's honestly, I liked it. It was a really fun crime thriller. It was a vibe. I just liked a lot of things about it. It's definitely a film I would rewatch. And it's about 2 hours long. So this is one of those films that, like, deserves to be that long because it actually works for the story. You're like, the last third of it just, like, really was like, oh my goodness, and you weren't expecting it, and just, it was very well paced as a film, is what I'm saying. So this next one is, I did not know this, but it was actually an A24 production. I like A24. I really don't have any complaint about it. But A24 like definitely has those like film bros that are like, this is the best movie ever. And I'm just like, it's alright. It's like mainstream art horror. Call your roll, honey. Directed by Trey Edward Schultz, 2017. Secure of a desolate home as an unnatural threat terrorizes the world. A man has established a tenuous domestic order for his wife and son, but this will soon be put to the test when a desperate young family arrives seeking refuge. I didn't hate this film. I'm gonna put this in meh alright, just because it is what it says on the tin. There is some really good visuals and tension, but it isn't really a film that I think really does a lot with its premise. It's nice, but I'm not... Actually, sorry, I'm going to put this in a popcorn film. I feel... Meh alright is I feel like a little bit lower than that, but I understand it sits on the line, right? This movie was decent, but it wasn't like... decent, like, you know, it was a film. It was satisfying for the most part, but you never really got much more than just, like, the general, like, you know, atmosphere of the film. It's like, you got the atmosphere, that was it. What's the plot? What's the characters? Who the fuck cares? We're just going to, like, kind of play... It's basically like that one scene where it's like, is the child bitten by a zombie? We don't know! And then you're just like, the entire fucking film. It doesn't involve zombies, but it's the same vibe. So, Jawbreaker, 1999, Darren Stein, who is a big fat gay. I say this because, I'm sorry, apparently he directed GBF, which I did not know. I may have to watch that movie now. I did not know it was Stein, because if it's the same vibe as this film, I may have to watch it, though. it's really surprising. Like, you can literally have the same writer or director, like, for a film that's, like, a special callback to, like, other stuff they've done and will be trash. So, you never know. Sometimes people do things for a paycheck. I ain't judging. Death totally bites. Life's a bitch, then you die. 3 of Reagan's high school most popular girls pretend to kidnap their friends by shoving a jawbreaker into the victim's mouth to keep her from screaming. The plan goes awry when the girl swallows the jawbreaker, choking to death. The leader of the pack would do anything to keep the accident a secret. This movie is so fucking gay. I love it. I mean, just like, first thing, I need to let you know, gay. No, it really is. Rachel, so you know that, like, meme where it's, like, what is it, like, female bullying, and then it's just, like, 5 women. Wait, I'm just gonna show you. So there's, like, this meme where it's, like, this stock photo, right? And there's these, like, girls. Yeah, here it is. It's this photo, basically. This is the exact vibe. The female bullying pics, where they're all just, like, individually bullying each other, and there's, like, this... And it's, like, weirdly homoerotic. Like, it feels so sexual. It's like The Craft, but make it like Mean Girls. I also watched The Craft this year. But yeah, like, the whole film is basically... Okay, sorry, I just want to make sure I wasn't being too loud. The whole film is basically, like, just queer homoeroticism between Rachel McGowan and all of these chicks. And I loved it so much. It was such a vibe, and it was so gay. It was, like, the gayest movie I've seen this year. And keep in mind, I also watched Cruising, so, like, it was a very gay movie. Next up is Kill Bill, which I think came out the same year, both volumes. I ain't gonna read both. I'm just gonna read the volume 1, because here's the thing. Quentin Tarantino was like, I want to make a 4-hour-long movie. And his producer, Gross Guy... Oh, who the fuck produced this? It was someone gross, I know that. Harvey Weinstein... Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. Oh, no, it's both of them. And gross man, Harvey Weinstein, literal rapist. Was he the rapist? Yeah, he was the rapist. Gross man, Harvey Weinstein, literal rapist, was like, maybe you should cut in, like, 2. And he's like, okay. Because he didn't want to cut anything. And so Quentin Tarantino made a 4-fucking-hour-long movie. But guess what? He's allowed to do it because he's actually good at making movies, and he incorporated, like, in a way that was episodic and allowed for separate arcs, in a way that made watching a 4-hour movie entertaining. There you go. Thank you. A roaring rampage of revenge. An assassin is shot by her ruthless employer Bill and other members of their assassination circle, but she lives to plot her vengeance. Basically, Kill Bill is, like, this crazy-ass, like, action romp that is literally everything single 70s exploitation film ever, because Quentin Tarantino likes to let people know that he watches movies. And it's great. And it's a vibe. And Uma Thurman is amazing, and all the cast is amazing, and the fights are so well choreographed, and I really appreciate that Tarantino can make these really great films. Once again, he is problematic, so, just acknowledge that, but also acknowledge that, like, he makes good movies. And at least in this film, like, all the, like, violent women murders is, like, at least not, like, superficial to the plot, I guess, you know what I mean? Next up is, oh my god, I love this movie. I'm not gonna put this in... See, I love this movie so much, but see, I feel like one of the requirements for you need to watch this movie right now is I want other people to watch this movie with me. And I feel like sometimes you can't really have a movie like that because sometimes movies are just weird, you know what I mean? Love and Saucers is directed by Brad Abrahams, 2017. David Huggins, a 72-year-old New Jersey man, claims to have had a lifetime of encounters with otherworldly beings, including an interspecies romance with an extraterrestrial woman who he lost his virginity to. He's chronicled it all in his surreal impressionist paintings. Are his experiences dreams, hallucinations, or could they be reality? This movie was such a vibe. And I keep saying movie. This is a documentary, by the way. This is real life. Okay. When he was 17, he fucked an alien. I need you to know that. Well, more like the alien fucked him. Anyway. I love this movie so much. David Huggins is like... he's great. I love him. He's so wonderful. He's like such a vibe. I wish I knew David Huggins in person because he is just gregarious, I guess you would call it. Like, affable. He's just like an instantly likable person, is what I'm trying to say. I just really vibed from this movie. It was delightful. But it's also literally about an old guy who makes erotic paintings about the time they got fucked by aliens. And am I going to show that to someone on a first date? Am I going to show that to, like, my parents? No. That's weird. But I love this movie. Watch this fucking movie. It's great. Next up is Malignant. I like Malignant. Some people hated Malignant, and it's okay if you don't like Malignant. Okay, it's perfectly fine. I get it. But I loved Malignant. Like, Malignant was just like... It was a fucking trip. Like, please buy me Malignant. Actually, no. I'm putting Malignant under watch this movie right now. I don't care, like, if it's bad. Like, if it's trash. I will literally ask anybody to, like, watch Malignant with me. It's by James Wan, who... You should know who James Wan is. He did The Conjuring. He did Saw. Apparently he did something with Aquaman. That's cool. Good for him. Okay, he, like Bosman, he is literally one of the names that, like, really define modern horror, at least by my standards. 2021, a new vision of terror. Medicine is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities. I love this movie so much. Also, it's like an hour and 45 minutes, but literally everything about it was like, yes. Oh, I also watched a few movies in theaters, by the way. I watched this in theaters. I watched it the last day that it was being shown in theaters, and how it was like in an empty apartment, in an empty theater. I was the only one there. And I remember, like, I'm, like, watching the last third, and I'm literally at the edge of my seat, because I'm just like, what the fuck? I love this movie. Watch this movie. I'm just like, thank you. Give me more of this. This is everything I want in theater. Next up is another Guillermo del Toro film, and also had Bradley Cooper. And no, I totally didn't watch this just because it had Bradley Cooper in it. I watched it because of Bradley Cooper in it. 2021, Guillermo del Toro, and this is actually a remake of a 1940s film. Man or Beast, an ambitious young carny with a talent for manipulating people, with a few well-chosen wards, hooks up with a female psychiatrist who is even more dangerous than he is. So, this is when I realized I am into males, just only if they step on me. This had Cate Blanchett, and she played the psychiatrist, and she is such a fucking mommy. She's just, like, literally, like, petting Bradley Cooper's hair, and she's like, so tell me about your daddy issues. And I'm just like, okay, mommy. So basically, I'm horny on... This movie is great. I'm horny on main, and I really appreciate it every time Guillermo del Toro makes a sex scene, because he does that for me. I'm gonna get off this before I say something I shouldn't, but yeah, this movie was hot as shit, and it was also, like, just... It was fun, it was a vibe, it had, like, really nice 1940s, like, costuming. I'm not super well... I'm not, like, an expert, so it's, like... I think it's, like, supposed to be, like, early 1940s, like 1941, like, the year the original movie came out, so... That actually probably would have been pretty accurate, because it definitely had a 30 silhouette, and I'm not as familiar with, like, the 40 silhouette as much, you know what I mean? I'm not, like, an expert in costuming, but rough glance, it seemed to be, like, fairly on point with what they were going for. And it's just, the costuming was hot, the movie was hot. It was good. I loved it. I ain't saying it's, like, the best, like, movie I've seen, but it was an enjoyable entertainment vehicle for me. I feasted my eyes and I was doth pleased. Next up is No Escape Room. Alex Merkin, that's an unfortunate last name, 2018, Solve to Survive. A father and daughter check out of a small-town escape room and discover there is something sinister about this place. Okay, here's some, like, legit criticism. Okay, they're right. This is really a lot better children in a glass. Why is sci-fi TV shows so good, but sci-fi movies so bad? Just saying. This was honestly hot garbage. It made no sense. What was this film? Okay. Literally, they're just like, trying to go into these escape rooms and think, okay, so it's gonna like actually make sense, and you're gonna like have to deal with these escape rooms, but like halfway through it's like this weird, like haunted ghost plot, and that plot doesn't make any sense. Like, basically, it gives me what is it? It gives me what is that called? Give me a second. So no in-house. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like no. It basically is like, what if we took no in-house, like that classic, like creepypasta, right? Okay, I'm sorry. This is the Candle Cove cover. This is the no in-house cover, which I need to watch Channel Zero. Okay, I was so into Channel Zero when I heard it was like coming out. And I really want to see what they did with all of that, because I love creepypastas and I love adaptations of it. Not the point. But yeah, it's like no in-house, but like make it escape room. And it was trash. I hated it. I also can't spoil the ending. Sorry. Don't watch this movie. It sucks. Sorry. Not Cool by Shane Dawson. This was the worst movie I watched this year. What do you want? Do you want a man eating his own shit? Do you want to see how many different ethnicities we can be racist towards? Do you want to see male rape played for laughs? Well, thank fucking God, because Not Cool has all of these. Oh, wow, that's really close to the fucking mic. I'm sorry. Because Not Cool is fucking trash. And that was gross. I'm sorry. But yeah, Not Cool is fucking trash. I hated it. But at the same time, I kind of want to rewatch it. It's so horrible that, like, was it really that bad? Like, maybe it's good if I rewatch it, or maybe I'm going to rewatch it eventually, but it's like, one of those movies is so horrible that you're like, you kind of want to rewatch it and then watch Holidaysburg afterwards, and then just do that every single year. I'm probably going to rewatch it in the new year. It's so bad. Anyway. Oblivion. Okay, Oblivion is so bad it's good. I loved Oblivion. This was... Give me a second. So Oblivion was another full moon... Also, another one you're thinking of. This was the 1994 one, which is a sci-fi western. Was not expecting that, were you? Also, weirdly enough, not the only sci-fi western I watched this year. Sam Irving, 1994, the alien outlaw Red-Eye murders the town sheriff, and then he and his gang terrorize the town. It's up to the sheriff's son, an empath, and his Native American sidekick to rescue the town and exact revenge for his father's murder. Also, I'm pretty sure the character who played, like, the Native American guy, Isaac Hayes, is in this? How the fuck did I, like, not notice that? Oh, George Takei is in this, by the way. There's, like, a surprising amount of, like, people in this that you would not expect. Oh, and Meg Foster, what is she in? I love her. She's been in something that I know of. Oh, yeah. Okay. We'll get into Meg Foster later. Holy shit, we're only on... Oh. Yeah, so Oblivion was just a fun, like, sci-fi, like, western romp, and there's, like, this character who's, like, literally looks like if Betty Page was in this, like, Wild West fetish gear, and she has an electrified whip, and, please step on me. Orgasmo. Oh my gosh. So this is by Matt Stone and Trey Parker, because I remember the names of things. 1997... Fighting crime never felt so good. Joe Young is a devout Mormon living in LA trying to raise enough money to go back to Utah and marry his girlfriend Lisa. Joe is spreading the word about the Church of Latter-day Saints one day when he's confronted by two burly bodyguards. A scuffle breaks out and Joe's material art skills impress Max Orbison. By the way, Max has 3 exes, just to let you know, who directs pornographic movies. So yeah. Sorry, I will make sure I'm so used to like wearing the headphones now, but I'm just like, can I even hear all of them? So yeah, basically, I'm gonna put Orgasmo under. I liked it. It was funny, okay? It was trash, but it was, like, honestly a time. It was so stupid, but, like, it's Trey Parker, okay? What the hell were you expecting? Okay, it was trash, and I liked it, and I'm not going to pretend. No, like, I haven't any excuse for that. Next, let's watch the absolute classic in queer cinema, which I say with absolutely no irony. I'm being ironic. Oy vey, My Son is Gay. 2009, directed by Evgeny Afinesky. I'm sorry for butchering your last name. I am tired and also maybe drunk. Ugh. Why did I order a Guinness? Love is Love. A romantic comedy featuring a Jewish family who struggles coming to terms with their son's non-Jewish and gay boyfriend. I'm sorry, I love how they have to specify that the boyfriend is gay. It's like, oh, by the way, this man who was dating your son is a homosexual. When the gay couple adopts a child and it makes headline news, their family comes to defend them and realize how much they love them. I feel like that's such a major fucking spoiler, because they don't even do that to, like, the last bit of the movie. And also, this movie, if you couldn't guess it, sucked major balls, and not, like, in the gay way, like in the I use sexual descriptors as a form of, like, word violence way. This movie was bad, okay? This movie was not satisfying. And I'm like, and it had, like, it had chops. It had, like, some decent, like, ideas. But at the same time, I'm like, they ruined it. Like, they were really like, hey, oh, that is so fucking loud. They were like, hey, let's literally take every gay trope we can make. Let's take every, like, passe Jewish trope we can take, and literally spend that entire movie making these dumbass jokes that aren't even funny. I literally spent, like, 2 hours after watching this movie, like, giving, like, script revisions. I literally basically rewrote the outline of this fucking movie just to show them that this could be done well. But, I'm not a scriptwriter. By the way, this is Ace Cider. This is fantastic. All of my homies drink Ace Cider. So, next up is probably one of my favorite anime directors. I watched a few animated films this year. And this was Paprika by Satoshi Kon. Oh my goodness, 2006. This is your brain on anime. I did not know that was his actual... Put it there, yeah. When a machine that allows therapists to enter their patients' dreams is stolen, all hell breaks loose. Only a young female therapist can stop it, Paprika. Satoshi Kon is like this amazing anime director. Literally everything he does was fantastic. He's dead. Yeah, he's dead, I'm pretty sure. No, he's definitely dead. Anyway, dead man, amazing. Sad to see you go. Rest in peace. But yeah, basically, he was just this amazing animator, and this movie is so... amazing. It's like trippy. It's so well done. Just everything about it is just like gorgeous sakuga. So next up was a film I really did not like. 2001, Michael Raymer, Perfume, Fame, Power, Sex. A week in the lives of a group of models, photographers, agents, reporters, publicists, and other characters during a wild modeling show in New York City. So if you're wondering why I whispered that in a slow, sensual voice, give me all of your money. It is because Perfume is a mumblecore film. And if you're not familiar, mumblecore is essentially a 2000s art house genre that essentially employs this concept of cinema verite, which is basically... It's a little hard to describe the film theory behind it because I don't fully understand it, but the main idea of cinema verite is that it's essentially taking films and applying it to a very realistic concept. It's essentially saying, how realistic and natural can we make this performance? And I incorrectly used the term cinema verite to describe found footage, in which the idea that the camera is an object, and that's not exactly what that phrase means, though there is some overlap there. Really, cinema verite is... essentially mumblecore essentially deals with very naturalistic, often improvised acting, and contemporary, non-fantastical settings. Essentially, it's a film genre that tries its absolute best to take any form of artifice out of filmmaking, which is a really interesting, from an art perspective, concept. However, this movie is really bad. It's incredibly slow. It's not interesting. And the plot is basically non-existent, because how do you make a plot with a completely improvised cast? Not to say that you can't have good... There was a movie I watched the other day that was essentially all improvised. Oh, Blair Witch Project, right? That's essentially a mumblegore movie, right? The entire movie is improvised. Really all of the dialogue is improvised, and Blair Witch, I'm getting ahead of myself, but it's you can definitely make a completely improvised film. You can definitely make a film that uses naturalistic dialogue. There are some really great mumblegore films that I've seen that are essentially the horror equivalent of mumblecore from the 2000s, but this is just really boring. It was so quiet. Hey, guess what, fam? I'm going to explain this to you really simple. Just because a movie requires you to use naturalistic dialogue doesn't mean that you can't use production value. Just because you want to create natural dialogue and not be artificial doesn't mean you should talk so quietly that I literally have to put headphones in to hear your fucking movie. Okay? I shouldn't have to put headphones in to watch a movie, not because I'm trying not to be too loud, because I literally cannot hear your film. That is poor sound mixing. Having a boom mic doesn't mean that you're a fake artist. It means that you're utilizing tools to make a consistent and accessible viewing experience. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So yeah, that movie's fucking sucked. Also, I hope you enjoy my ASMR. So, next up is a Nicolas Cage vehicle, which I actually kind of vibed with. I'm going to put this under... Ooh, this one is difficult. Do I want to put this under, popcorn film? I'm going to see what I want to see what I listed it as. I did not read this with a category. Okay. Pig is directed by Michael Sarnowski, 2021, with Nicolas Cage as the main character, Obs. We don't get a lot of things to really care about. A truffle hunter who lives in the Oregonian wilderness must return to his past in Portland, and so to his beloved foraging pig after she is kidnapped. So, let's be honest, people, there is other countries. There are other cities in Oregon besides Portland, just saying. But Portland is really the place you want to go if you're looking for fine dining in Oregon, so we get a pass there. I liked this film. It was very artsy. It was this slow burn, very poignant drama with Nicolas Cage and food and all this, and this exploration of grief. I'm going to put... It's complicated because, on one hand, I think it was a really well-made movie. It's very artsy, but, what... I don't think it deserves to be called a popcorn film because it's not... It's not super accessible. It really is just this very artsy, very kind of, I made this film. It's emotional. It's poignant. I want to say big, deep things about grief and loss. But at the same, so it's not really not a popcorn film, but it's also who is this for? Essentially, what I like it, but I like Nicolas Cage, and I like people having long, drawn out discussions about food, writing, and grief. So I mean, as for me, definitely, I vibed with this, but what is the audience for this film is what I'm trying to say. So next up is another animated film, and I think this was from my Time Waster Challenge. Watch a movie which is an animated film that focuses on war. So, Princess Mononoke. This is 1997, so the year I was born again, directed by Hayao Miyazaki. The fate of the world rests on the courage of one warrior. Ashitaki, a prince of the disappearing Amishi people, is cursed by a demonized boar god and must journey to the west to find a cure. On the way, he encounters San, a young human woman fighting to protect the forest, and Lady Eboshi, who is trying to destroy it. Ashitaki must find a way to... This is amazing. I feel like you don't necessarily need to... I don't think I would force me to watch this, like... Because this is over 2 hours long. I keep forgetting how many of these movies were, like, super long. Because, like, sure, like A Cure for Wellness and, like, Blade Runner, those were super long, but, like, all the other ones are, like, oh, you know, they're well-paced, so you don't really remember, you know what I mean? But, yeah, Princess Mononoke is really great. I think Miyazaki really likes to have a lot of discussions of environmentalism, and he has these very morally great characters, and I really love that. I really love how, like, you don't really hate all the different sides because you understand what they're doing, but you also realize, like, you know, that just because they have good intentions doesn't mean that they're doing good things. And oh shit, did I... Oh, okay, cool. Let me just open... I may have accidentally... Okay, good show. Did I end... Okay, how do I add a queue? Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to, get back to my live videos, because I accidentally exited out on my browser. Okay, so, sorry. I know this looks weird. Right now, I'm trying to... No, that's not it. So, create, go live. Okay, am I there? Am I there? Yes! Okay, cool. Sorry, guys, I love how I'm saying this, as if I'm not actually, like, live streaming this right now with, like, you know, display, so you can actually see me trying to, like, get this back up. I guess I didn't really need to do that, but I like making sure that... Oh, 8 playbacks, that's nice. So, thank you guys if you're watching. So, yeah, Princess Mononoke, I liked a lot of the, still, like, gray morality and all that other stuff for it. Next up is another, I think this is the first Elvira film I watched. This is Puppet Master, 1989, directed by David Schmoller. Schmoller? Let me know in the comments how to pronounce his name. Evil comes in all sizes. Toulon, a puppet maker, discovers an ancient Egyptian potion and uses it to bring his creations to life. His puppets become murderous little demons and escape. Those murderous little demons. Distraught, the monster takes his life. Years later, psychics tune into the existence of the monstrous marionettes and set off to stop them. So, Puppet Master is camp comedy. Love that for them. They're great. And this is like one of those full moon production films on its, like, peak full moon, because it's, like, it's so weird. It doesn't make any sense, but you're, like, at the same time just vibing with it. You know what I mean? So, I actually really like this, but I don't think it's my favorite full moon productions. So, next up is Seed People. This is another 13 Nights of Elvira film I watched. Excuse me. Peter Manoogian, 1992. The Root of All Evil. This is what happens when you drink a lot of carbonated stuff. The citizens of Comet Valley are being taken over by seeds from an alien planet that has taken root here. A sheriff investigates the strange going-ons. So, this was, like, a really basic... this was a really basic-ass, like, you know, horror comedy inspired by 1950s alien movies. We've seen it before, you know what I mean? Like, we've seen this before. So, I'm going to put this in Meryl Ride film, because I've definitely seen it done better. Next up is one of my new favorite, give me a second... New favorite, like, B-movies, Shark Kansas Woman's Prison Massacre, directed by Jim Warnowski. And you're like, damn, that sounds so familiar. Who even is he? And you may recognize him as being that guy that... Yeah, give me a second. Like, he is so famous. Jim Wynorski is essentially a B-movie, like, creator, but he's also known for making a bunch of, like, porno parodies. So, oh my god, can you hear that? Can you hear that out there? Fuck him. Some guy's, like, literally just driving down being, like, such a fucking bitch. But yeah, here we go. Yeah, basically, Jim Wynorski is a B-movie creator, but he's also a adult film director. And he does a lot of porno parodies, so he's done things like The Devil Wears Nada, which actually sounds hilarious. I'm sorry, I'm going to look into that. Let's see. Sexy Wife Syndrome, Boasty Coeds, and Lusty Chill. Yeah, like, so he basically just, like, you know, Womb Raider, or Shaven Ryan's Privates, or The Bear Wench Project, Scared Topless. I'm sorry, I love, like, all of his movies are either just, like, really, like, campy B movies, or they're, like, literal porn. And so, Short Kansas Women's Prison Massacre is literally a movie that looks like a porno. It literally has, like, adult film production, but the entire thing, like, is completely, like, you know, it's made for a it's not erotic, you know what I mean? But it very much has that exact, like, porn acting vibe, and I love that. I love that, like, Jim Wynorski really gets the people... I love campy porn acting. It's really just hilarious to me, and so I really appreciate that Jim Wynorski gets that as a market for that, and then just makes batshit insane, like, terrible me movies based off of that. And see, it is really hard to make genuine, intentional camp, and Wynorski actually achieves that. I loved it so much, because it's so bad, and it's so dumb, but it's like, it's so genuinely bad and dumb, and I appreciate it so much. So, on one hand, like, I'm going to put this in So Bad It's Good because I feel like it truly encapsulates camp, but I would make some, but do know that, like, if I wasn't putting this in there for, like, you know, the exact, give me 1 second, I'm sorry, I'm trying to spell Sharknado right now, I'm having difficulties. If I didn't have it there just so I could encapsulate the genre, I would have this, and you need to watch this right now, because I will force somebody to watch Sharknado Women's Prison Massacre. Sharknado, directed by Anthony C. Ferrant, 2013, enough said, which is so true. It is enough said. A freak hurricane hits Los Angeles, causing man-eating sharks to be cooped up in tornadoes and flooding the city with shark-invested seawater. Surfer and bar owner Finn sets out with his friends, Baz and Nova, to rescue his estranged wife, April, and teenage daughter, Claudia. So, you know how we were talking about, like, intentional camp? Teehee. This is basically, like, this is, like, what you really usually get when you have intentional camp. It's, like, it's trying to be shitty, and it is. But I think that Sharknado is fun. It is a vibe, it is a time, but it isn't, like, the absolute perfection that is Shark and Star Women's Prison Massacre. It doesn't go hard enough, is what I'm saying. So, next up is... Okay, see, it's kind of hard, like, it's literally so tiny. These little thumbnails. Next up is the film Sheba Baby. William Girdler, 1975. Queen of the Private Eyes. Sheba, a Chicago private detective, returns back home to Louisville, Kentucky, to help her father fight mobsters. I love this. Okay, this film is great. This film is a fucking vibe. So Pam Grier plays this detective, and I feel like this is probably one of, like, the most, like, explicitly Pam. Like, I feel like this is Sheba Baby is like Pam Grier, and, like, her most, like, formulaic, but, like, really pushed into, like, what makes a Pam Grier film so iconic. I feel like Foxy Brown is, like, so great because it's, like, the imperfect encaps. It's like this amazing camp performance of blaxploitation. But Sheba Baby is basically like it's slightly less beautiful sister. And there's like this, one of my favorite scenes is this one where she's like talking to this pimp, and he's like, girl, what you want? She's like, I want info. And he's like, I'm sorry, I gotta pimp walk away. And he's like literally like trotting away, and it's so cute. He's just like, just jogging away from like, Pam Grier, as if anyone would ever walk away from that woman. I love her. And he's just like, oh, she must have I must have lost her by literally jogging 2 feet away from her. He literally just like jogs down the block, and he's just like, can't catch me. I'm just like, pimp strutting. And so like, while he's doing that, she's just like, ghost riding the whip. I'm just kidding. She hides in the back seat, and he's like, oh, she must be gone. And so he like gets in the car, goes to a car wash, because you gotta be pimping. You gotta make sure your ride looks good. And she just like literally paws out the back seat, like I think holds a knife to his throat, and he's like, tell me your information. And he's like, oh no, it was a white guy that did it all along, because it always is, because blaxploitation tells us how it is. Whitey's gotta pay. And so he's literally being like, you're too hot to be mean to me. And she's like, you better tell me what I want to know. Did you forget that you ordered hot wax for this? And she's like holding like this guy's head out the window. It's great. I love this so much. Shima Baby is just, it's a vibe. She's just like literally like jet skiing and shooting the bad guy with a harpoon gun, and she's just like, I'm Sheba Baby. I don't even remember like what she says. She does, almost all of like Pam Grier's like AIP movies have a theme song where they directly say her name. It's great. I love blaxploitation films that are just like, we're gonna give this character a fucking theme song. Like, you better watch out, it's hot coffee. Okay, I love Sheba Baby, she's great. Next up is something that's not great, but I want a remake, and I want it to be, it's like 2000s comedy, I want remake to be more explicitly gay. Wow, that's a short list. I'm joking, it's a very long list. Directed by Annie Fickman, 2006. If you want to chase your dreams, sometimes you gotta break the rules. Viola Johnson is in a real jam. Complications threaten her scheme to pose as her twin brother, Sebastian, and take his place at a new boarding school. She falls in love with her handsome roommate Duke, who loves beautiful Olivia, who has fallen for Sebastian. I'm like way too busted to like process that information. As if that was not enough, Viola's twin returns from London ahead of schedule, but has no idea that his sister has already replaced him on campus. So if you couldn't catch the gist of that, She's the Man is essentially an adaptation of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, which, as you know, is the gayest Shakespeare play. And I will have you fight me on that. And so, just like Shakespeare being a fucking cuck and not giving me that good gay shit, this entire thing is super queerbaity and kind of like a little homophobic. Like, comparatively, like, not that homophobic, but like a little homophobic, okay. But yeah, basically Amanda Bynes, like, cross-dresses as a dude is not convincing. Especially since, like, he's totally wearing makeup. I'm just saying, like, Amanda Bynes, like, dudes don't wear cherry lip gloss. Just to state, traditionally masculine men most likely will not wear cherry lip gloss. And if you're trying to be, like, you know, pass and mask, you know, if you're trying to, like, be natural fish, but, like, you know, dude fish, maybe, like, you know, lose the gloss. I'm just saying. Obviously, you can't have female characters not wearing makeup. They'll look ugly. Anyway, She's the Man is hot trash, and it really is. I would love to see this remade because it had, like, potential. Like, I want to see She's the Man, but, like, it's very gay because, like, the plot is so gay. The plot is literally the gays, but we have to make it heteronormative because of society. So, I mean, like, can we just make a story, like, with Twelfth Night, but we just rewrite it and it's gay? You know what I mean? Like, can we just make gay Twelfth Night is what I'm saying. Next up is Shrunken Heads, and I'm gonna put this in It's Complicated because what I'm saying is that it's a vibe, but it's problematic. So, Richard Elfman, 1994. There's superheroes from the heads to their necks. Because that's a fun tagline. 3 teens killed by a local crime boss return for revenge after a witch doctor revives them through voodoo magic. You can already tell this shit is problematic. Problematic. There we go. So it has Meg Foster as Big Mo, who is a lesbian butch crime boss, and it is 2021. Where is Big Mo's movie? Okay. Where is my lesbian butch queen pin's movie? Okay. I demand justice for Big Mo. Also, if the phrase voodoo priest using black magic to create shrunken heads hasn't already, raised an eyebrow for you, if it helps, he was also an ex-member of the Tantamako. And they just play that straight. There isn't even any reaction for that. This guy's literally like, hi, I'm a war criminal. Want to see my gun? And I'm just like, bruh. You literally put a fucking war criminal, someone who's from an organization that was literally the secret police of a dictatorship that was known for raping women and murdering children. You're just going to pass it off and be like, oh, also, I'm supposed to be a likable character? I have issues with that. But also, the movie was it was fun, but also, that's gross. I'm sorry, how am I supposed to, relate to a character who is, once again, a literal war criminal? That's not the vibe, fam. Next up is, this could be a hard movie to place. Sinister. 2012, Scott Derrickson. I don't know why, but that face he's making, I don't know if you can tell, I don't know if you can see it, but that face he is making. Once you see him, nothing can save you. Found footage helps a true crime novelist realize how and why a family was murdered in his new home. Through his discoveries, put his entire family in the path of a supernatural entity. Okay, I was trying to see... Okay, I was trying to see if you could actually, see my... You know what I mean? Sorry, I'm just, spacing out for a second. I remember Sinister in... I'm going to say personal recommendation. I liked it. It was good. I think Sinister was fun, but... Yeah, I don't really have any strong feelings, so I'm just going to leave it there. Guys, actually, I know we're right in the middle of a live stream, but I also drink, a lot of alcohol. So, give me 1 second. I am going to go pee real quick. I know, I'm gross. Deal with it. I'm so fucking mean. I'm just deal with it. So, yeah. So, I'm gonna go use the bathroom quick. This is an intermission. Feel free to, use the bathroom or something. And because I'm in my underwear, I will put a robe. So I will be right back. I've actually been sitting on my bladder for the last half hour. So I will be right back, guys. This is an intermission. See you in about 5-10 minutes. Okay. Thank you so much for actually waiting for me. And I was only gone for 2 minutes apparently. Good to know. Okay, now that I have got that there, let us actually take a second. Oh my gosh. I've just been really tired lately, I don't know why. So, the next movie I watched was actually really fun. I'm gonna turn my volume a little bit. There we go. I don't know why, but I just got like so adjusted to like wearing headphones that I'm like can't, like usually like when I'm wearing headphones I can tell like I'm talking into them, but I'm just getting so adjusted to like hearing that way that I'm like, is my microphone on? I can't tell. I'm not recognizing the audio artifacts in it. Does sound even exist if it's not picked up by my microphone? So, I'm trying to vibe. So I'm just feeling like, maybe like the alcohol is just hitting me. I'm just feeling like super relaxed right now. What? I'm not a constant state of like absolute tension. I literally love how I'm constantly afraid I'm not being picked up by my microphone, even though I literally know this thing picks up everything. I have a Blue Yeti, by the way. So, next up is Slither. James Gunn, who... Do I know that from anything? Oh, he did Guardians of the Galaxy. Love that. 2006. Horror has a new face. A small town is taken over by an alien plague, turning residents into zombies and all forms of mutant monsters. I loved Slither. Slither was just... I was gonna say it's so bad it's good, but it's really not, okay? It's like this perfect, like, satire of, like, B-movies. So, this is what Seed People wanted to be. It's, like, satirical, but the practical effects are just so well done for 2000s. Honestly, it has no right to be as good as it is what I'm saying. Next up is Stir of Echoes. I remember watching the movie as a kid, and I was, like, super freaked out by it. My mom was always like, you never saw a movie like that. I'm just like, well, I remember seeing a movie like this, okay? I don't have to tell you. And that movie was, of course, Stir of Echoes by David Coop. 1999. In every mind, there's a door that should never be opened. After being hypnotized by his sister-in-law, Tom Witzke begins seeing haunting visions of a girl's ghost, and a mysterious begins to unfold around her. So, I never understood why people like Kevin Bacon, and then I saw this movie and I understood why. It's because women are horny in Maine. And so, I actually liked Stir of Echoes, so I'm going to put this under personal recommendation. I like most movies I see, okay? I know I'm trash, so I like most movies I see. I'm a very positive, biased type person. Deal with it. I love how I say that, even though I have a good selection of all the other films I've seen. So yeah, I think Stir of Echoes was a good film. I really has some like. It's too late now. I don't know. We're doing 100 films. Okay, you're not going to get we're just gonna move on. Stop, or my mom will shoot. I hate this movie. Okay, everyone's like, I don't get it, Ryan. Why don't you like this film? It has Estelle Getty in it. You love Golden Girls. I do. Betty White is dead and I am devastated, okay? I'm sorry you had to hear it from me. But also have you not heard it from now. It has been at least 8 hours. Everyone should know. This was directed by Robert Spottiswoode. I hate that name. I'm sorry, Mr. Spottiswoode. That was mean of me, but that's a lot to process. 1992, she did the laundry and washed the dishes. Now she's cleaning up the streets. How would you clean my brain so that I don't have to remember this film? A tough police sergeant's mother comes to visit him and promptly starts trying to fix up his life, much to his embarrassment. For his birthday, she buys him a machine gun out of the back of a van and begins to further interfere with his job and love life, eventually helping him with a case he's on. So, this got 1.9 stars, and honestly, why did I rate it this high? like, I remember really hating this movie, so why did I rate it this high? Incredibly disappointing. The concept of casting was fantastic, but the script was garbage. Did I give this 2 stars just because it had, like, good casting? By which I mean, like, I like the high concept. Because it has Estelle Getty, it has Sylvester Stallone, and they are, like, you know, Estelle Getty is his, like, overbearing mother, which, it should work, okay? Sylvester Stallone is really good at action comedies. Estelle Getty is, like, this perfect, like, you know, mother type who's, like, sassy and, like, you know, busts her nose into people's business. Why? Why would you do this to Estelle Getty? She deserves better, okay? She deserves better than that shitty script. And you know who else deserves better? Sylvester Stallone, okay? He has been in some amazing action comedies. And you just shat directly into his mouth, okay? You shat directly into his mouth and made him say words that were in your script. You should be ashamed of yourself. Whoever fucking wrote that movie, fuck you, okay? That's all I'm saying. I'm moving on before I have something that I need to say. Storage 24. You can notice the more I get drunk, the more I'm, like, less professional. Johannes Roberts, 2012. Storage 24. Will their first contact be their last? Something nasty is lurking inside a secure storage unit. When a group of people get trapped inside, they need to find a way to get out of the building that's designed to keep things in. See, that was such a good fucking description for a shit movie. Okay. Excuse me. So, Storage Unit 24, this movie was shit. It had, what the fuck is his name? Noel Clarke. He's, the guy who played Mickey, I think the name is his name, from, like, Doctor Who. So, you know how in the original Doctor Who, Mickey's, like, kind of this, like, cuck boyfriend who's always like, why doesn't she love me? Well, he's this, but he's, like, more of a toxic incel about it. And also, I have to watch his face for an hour and a half as we watch a poorly written horror movie about an alien invasion. That being said, the alien in this film was, like, the graphic design, not the word, the character design was, like, amazing. Like, the alien looked cool as shit, so I'm just, like, I'm watching this movie, and it's, like, the alien looks super cool, and then I'm just, like, watching this shit movie that has this alien in it. Next up is 2016's Terrifier by Damien Leone. I love how I say Damien Leone, like, I don't know where I was going with that. I'm just like, Damien Leone, I'm just like, wow, is that really who directed Terrifier? Imagine that. Because this is basically, like, the only thing he's done is make these amazing slasher films. I feel like Terrifier, I'm going to put this under personal recommendation. This would go in, like, you need to watch this movie right now, but it's another one of those situations where it's, like, so niche. You know what I mean? And so, Terrifier is basically this, once again, read the fucking description, bitch. A medical clown named Art terrorizes 3 young women and everyone else who stands in his way on Halloween night. Damien Leone has this amazing ability to write essentially slasher, well, no, sorry, not slasher. He writes these really 70s grindhouse, well, splatter, essentially, films with, and they're all, like, these great, like, you know, artsy slasher. And it's, like, the tension's on point, the splatter influence is on point, and it's just, they're so macabre and so gory and so disgusting. It's just, it's such a vibe. I love it. It's just, the practical effects, the character, it's just, everything about it is just so on point and so iconic that it's just, it really is a very unique piece of horror cinema, and I really wish that more people would watch it, but at the same time, if you don't enjoy splatter or grindhouse films, you're probably not going to get that much out of it. Next up is some hot garbage, but I love hot garbage so much. So, just to give you a little taste, okay, a teensiest taste of what this movie is like, the poster literally says, hey, it got boobs in the first second. And it really do. It literally got that titty out the first second. It's Thanksgiving by Jordan Downey. 2008. Gobble gobble, motherfucker. A homicidal turkey axes off college kids during Thanksgiving break. By the way, I paid $18 for all these, like, 4 cans. That is so ridiculous. Kids, if you're going to buy alcohol, buy a 6-pack or, like, a 20-pack of seltzer, and then slowly increment it out whenever you feel like drinking. Learn how much it takes to get you mildly buzzed, and moderate the amount of alcohol you drink. Be responsible with your addictions and vices, kids. Also, if you're an actual minor, do not do alcohol or drugs. Those like sunsugar and shit, okay? This is a PSA, whatever. Thanksgiving got its titties out in the first second. That's all you need to know. This movie is hot garbage. It is trash. It is absolute filth. And I liked it, okay? It was a vibe. It was a fun movie. It was super stupid. And I liked watching it because it was like, they were like, we're going to make a dumbass, like, movie, and it's going to be absolute dog shit, and it's going to be like a $3,000 budget, and we're just going to have some chick with her titties out in the first second. And I'm like, you know what? I like trash. I am a trash human being. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Next up is a movie that has no fucking right to be as good as it is, and that's the Banana Splits movie, directed by Danishka Hazy. And also, yes, you are right. This is a female director. Oh my goodness. Good for you. Honestly, round of applause for Danishka Esterhazy. She also directed Slumber Party Massacre, the new one, and Level 16, which I've been meaning to watch. So, Danishka, I am definitely ready to see more of your films. It also looks like she directed Channel Zero, which, as I mentioned on the stream, I do like. I've only seen a few episodes of it, but it was really good. So this is going in personal recommendation because I do like it, but also, once again, who is this movie for? Actually, no, I feel like this definitely is very solid in personal recommendation. I liked it. I like this film, but it's not like my all-time favorite film. This movie is, without a doubt, though, really good, and also way much better than like you would think from the concept, which just goes to show ideas are cheap, people, okay? You can have a stupid ass idea for a film, and it's the execution that makes it really good, okay? There is so much that separates the horrible abysmalness of Stop or My Mom Will Shoot from the Banana Splits movie. Stop or My Mom Will Shoot is a really high concept. It's great. I love the idea of it. Banana Splits movie? That's fucking stupid, okay? You took a random-ass Hanna-Barbera show and was like, what if we did the Freddy Fazbear, but we can't afford the rights to it? And then you made it, like, hot as shit with the casting. Literally every single character in this is so fucking hot. Like, please send the entire cast of the Banana Splits movie, the adults, you perverts, to my house. Please and thank you. And also the cinematography was good, the acting is good, like, everything about this movie was just, like, amazing. And they're like, we're going to do the best we can with this film. We're going to make the Banana Splits movie, but we're going to be, like, going so fucking hard with it. So, I thank you for that, and I thank you for just casting hot-ass people, because, once again, I am a whore. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. This was The Blair Witch Project. Yes, the original. Daniel Merrick, Eduardo Sanchez. And you're like, how does it have 2 directors? Well, see, here's the thing. This is a found footage movie. And it is literally directed by the cast. And the fact that the cast is holding the fucking camera. The Blair Witch Project also is completely improvised. Essentially, the cast was given notes on what they wanted for each scene, but then was to allow the actors to generally act out the situation, which makes it in my opinion, the most authentic and true version of the mumblecore aesthetic. This is really a mumblecore film. Well, technically, a horror mumblecore film is known as mumblegore. Let's see, Creep is a good example. There's a few other examples that I've seen. I do love the mumblecore as, like, a genre. I just don't care for its, like, mainstream counterpart. I'm sorry, me just describing mumblecore as mainstream is so fucking funny to me. Alright. The scariest, 1989, excuse me, the scariest movie of all time is a true story. It's not actually, it's non-fiction. In October of 1994, 3 student filmmakers disappeared into the woods near Burkittsville, Maryland, while shooting a documentary. A year later, their footage was found. Now, this is going to really shock you, because if you know me, I am obsessed with, first, found footage, and I am obsessed with unfiction. And the Blair Witch Project is such a giant inspiration to basically modern unfiction projects, and also the found footage genre in general. So, you're thinking, like, Ryan, why don't you like the Blair Witch Project? Here's the thing, I do like the Blair Witch Project. But I'm just going to read you my review to explain, because this is something that's really, I feel is important. Okay, it's super weird I haven't seen this yet. I live for found footage and unfiction. See, bitch? What am I telling you? Paraphrasing my conversation earlier. On one hand, I want to appreciate the Blair Witch Project's legacy, creating an inspiration not only for found footage films, but for my generation's most iconic unfiction projects, namely Marble Hornets and Everyman Hybrid, whose aesthetics are heavily influenced by this 90s classic. On the other hand, don't you have to judge a film not only by its own merit, but by the relative viewing of it, even though a contemporary audience would have a different opinion? So here's a different author review. The Blair Witch Project is an alright film. It has a lot of elements that work for it, but in terms of refinement, it doesn't quite hit the mark. To be honest, it's hard to rate this film any higher when every aspect of it has been done stronger by a different film. Above and below in terms of survival horror, Creep and VHS if we're looking for more towards Blair Witch's mumblecore ethos, is an alright film because the genre has grown so much and built so much in the back of it. So to look at the foundation compared to the palace, how do you find it anything more than pedestrian? And that's kind of the thing, though, is that I love the Blair Witch Project in spirit. I love the Blair Witch Project in terms of its subtext. But looking at it as individually within its own context, I can't love it because it has basically... the genre has outgrown it. The world has taken so much from it that it literally defined the genre so much that I can't see it as anything more than tropic. And that's kind of the thing, is that the things that we truly love eventually become cannibalized because we grow from it. I am looking at the shelled out husk of a genre, and it is beautiful, but it has also run its course. It is a dead meme in a sense. It has lived so much that looking at it is just... it's hard to... I appreciate it for its history, but it's hard to really enjoy it for its own merit because it has inspired so much from it. So I probably put too many words describing that, but it is a very important film to me in that sense. I love how I'm just like, this film is literally so important to me, and then I give it, like, the most, like, non-emotionally committal, like, spot on my listing, because I feel like Matt Allright film is, like, a film that I really have no feelings about. It's like, this was a film, I watched it, I really don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Matt Allright film is, like, one of the most... it's weird that I'm, like, putting this sort of connotative emotional like value on my category system because it's not really how I want to do it, but it really is. It's like each of these like different spots has a different sort of emotional vibe to me, and so I feel bad for putting... I'm gonna move on from this, otherwise I'm gonna be on this all night, guys. Oh my goodness, it is already 11. Holy fucking shit. I told you we're gonna be here all night. We're gonna be here till midnight. Yay. So next up is The Brother from Another Planet by John Sayles, 1984. An alien slave crash lands in New York City. Oh my goodness. Somehow I missed that he was supposed to be a slave, which, I mean, it's a little on the nose, but like, we get it. Okay, we get it, bitch. Lands in New York City while being pursued by 2 men in black bounty hunters. His attempt to find a place for himself on Earth parallels that of the immigrant experience. So yeah, this is about an alien who presents as an African American male. Sorry, I'm just like trying to figure out where to place it. So yeah, this is about a alien who presents as an African American male who crash lands into a Harlem type neighborhood in New York and learns how to assimilate into American culture. And that totally doesn't have any sort of like, what's what I'm looking for, allegorical or like, symbolic meaning. It really has nothing political or social commentary to say about it. No, it's basically just it's an art house film. It's a little slow, but it definitely has like an interesting message, and it's definitely a film I liked watching because it made me feel like, a film critic. It definitely made me feel like I'm watching a film that was not necessarily meant to be super entertaining. It meant to just have its own sort of message and idea behind it. And so I'm just like, I'm getting distracted because I'm drunk. But yeah, no, the film is like a really great art house piece. It has a lot to say, and while I don't think that I necessarily vibe with it completely, I like definitely appreciated it, like, its message. And so I don't necessarily want to get. So that's why I feel like it's complicated. You know what I mean? It's like it's not one of those films I can like really perfectly place because it doesn't really have an audience. It's not. Most of my friends, they're not like art house people, so it's not like something that I would like personally recommend. But at the same time, it's not a popcorn film, and I liked it, but it wasn't like, oh, I like this. You know what I mean? Next up is The Christmas That Almost Wasn't. So this was basically like, hey, I want to watch 100 movies, but also I don't really feel like watching anything serious right now. So I watched The Christmas That Almost Wasn't, or Il Natale che cosa non fu. I do not speak Italian, I'm sorry. This was directed by Rossano Brazzi, 1966. A more wonderful, more magical, more musical entertainment than this, there just isn't. Which, like, I love that. I love that, just like, hey, a better movie than this? Bitch, we don't know her. I love that confidence. Sam Whipple. I still can't get over that fucking last name. My name is Whipple. Sure it is, Jan. An attorney in a Once Upon a Time land is startled to receive a visit from Santa Claus shortly before Christmas. It seems that when he was a child, Sam wrote a letter thanking Santa for the presents he received and offering to return the favor someday. Damn bitch. That day is now. A mean old soul named Phineas Prune, who holds the deed to the North Pole, the entire North Pole apparently, is demanding back rent. Otherwise, he's going to evict Santa. Mrs. Claus and the elves take all their Christmas toys. It's up to Sam and Santa to find a way to pay off Prune and prevent Christmas from being cancelled. I honestly love that, like, his name is fucking Prune, and I love that this is literally free on the most random, like, literally every single one of those, like, free, like, sites. Like, this is on Plex, Fubo, and Crackle, and Peacock, and Netflix, because I watched this on MST3K. So it's like, damn bitch, this is, like, so public domain that it's on everything. This should I mean, this wouldn't surprise if this was like YouTube movies or some shit for free. But Tish. This was trash. I feel so mean. It was like this lighthearted Christmas movie. It was trash. That was mean. I'm sorry. Like, I'm being like wishy-washy. It was okay. It was like this random ass movie. It was like, oh no, this meanie is like hates children and also he's a capitalist, so he's evil. Not because he hates children, but because he's a capitalist. And see, it turns out I'm gonna spoil this for you, because why the fuck are you watching this? Okay, don't watch this shit. It's like, oh, I hate children because when I was a kid, you never gave me a present, and I was bullied because of it. Legit. And it's like, well, why didn't Santa give him a present? Well, see, apparently Santa has a subscription service, and if you don't actually fill out the paperwork by sending him a letter, he doesn't visit your fucking house, which, honestly, this raises a question. How does Santa deal with, like, nomadic or homeless children that don't have a fixed physical location? Just saying. Like, we need to talk about Santa Claus's abliest present delivery system. Okay, Santa Claus is hashtag canceled. I'm gonna put that in the fucking description. Santa Claus is hashtag canceled, just saying, teehee. Oh my goodness. I'm having fun now. Like, what, Ryan? You weren't having fun before? I'm just like, I was having fun before, but now I'm having extra fun. So, next up is Il Cadavre de Anna Fritz, which... Actually, that's confusing. Like, I get the... Why is it Il Cadavre? Why isn't it not La Cadavre? Because, like, is Cadavre just always masculine? Because it's weird to, like, refer to a female body as, like, in the masculine. Basically, this is a Spanish film called The Corpse of Anna Fritz, but I wanted to flex on you and show you my own I'm too drunk for this shit. Un español natural. There we go. Anna Fritz is a beautiful and famous actress. Suddenly, her body is found in a hotel and the news of her death goes around the planet. The young, shy caretaker Pau works at the hospital where they carried the body of Anna Fritz. That phrasing is weird. He and his friends decide to take pictures of the body of Anna Fritz. They decide they could make love to her and nobody would know. They are in front of Anna Fritz and can do with it what they want. Okay, first of all, I just want to point out that there is a double space in this description and it is bothering me. But also, was that translated from something? That sounds like it was translated from something. You know what I mean? Like, the phrasing was, like, not natural English, which, no shame, no tea, no shade. Anyway, this was directed by Hector Hernandez Vicens, and it was 2015. Ooh. This is different. Like, I'm at that point where it's like I'm super vibing, but at the same time I'm just like, I'm not wanting to make, like, decisions. I am about 3 drinks deep right now. Well, it depends. Like, is Guinness, like, 1 standard drink or 2? Like, answer in the comments. Me suddenly not having any space on my fucking desk. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna put a recommendation. I liked it just because I can't really, like, think of a better place for it. But yeah, it was a solid, like, horror thriller. It's kind of grody because I literally had to watch a movie about necrophilia, so it was gross and rapey. Of course it is. Excuse me. Though I really wonder how someone would have, like, ethical necrophilia. Like, could you imagine just, like, saying, oh, BT dubs, if I die, like, you can totally keep me on ice and, like, ram my holes. Weird talk. Weird talk. Let's talk about The Craft. Andrew Fleming's 1996. Welcome to the witching hour. That's such a good tagline. A Catholic school newcomer falls in with a clique of teen witches who wield their powers against all who dare to cross them, be they teachers, rivals, or meddlesome parents. See, I love that, like, the first review in this on the box is honestly not gay enough, which, true. And I know I keep saying I'm not going to check my reviews, but okay, yeah. I had to think about this, like, because I can't remember, like, where I had put it, and I put it under we're watching this right now, and it's going to take me a second, apparently, because apparently, like, this is just too dummy thick to drag all the way up screen. But yeah, I love the Craft was such a vibe. It was like Jawbreaker, but with witches, basically. Because you have, like, this very homoerotic, like, very intense, like, female toxic dynamic, but it's, like, witches. And the fashion was so on point. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm vibing so hard right now. Hi, Bullseye is intoxicated. That's what happens when you drink on stream. Tee-hee. But, okay. Yeah, The Croc was like a vibe. The fashion was amazing. The acting was really good. The special effects was really good. Like, the whole thing was just amazing. So, let's get on to the next one, which I despise. And somehow it feels like they stole it from a Stephen King's, like, in a movie. Buck. I mean, technically, it's like... My brain is fried, apparently. Basically, Stephen King has, like, another dude, Richard Bachman, there we go. And basically, his whole thing is that, like... Okay, you did watch me shotgun that side, right? Basically, this feels like it's still, like, it's premise from The Regulators by Richard Bachman. Here's the premise. The Darkness, Greg McLean, 2016... Evil comes home. A family returns from a Grand Canyon vacation with a supernatural presence in tow. This was hot fucking garbage. It was, like, boring. It was honestly kind of ableist and also really racist. Like, you managed to get both kids. It stars on an autistic character. Well, it doesn't star an autistic character. I think Kevin Kline is, like, technically the lead role. It has an autistic character, and... yeah, I would say problematic, but I mean, like, I feel like they could literally show this movie to people, to show them, like, the worst possible... Like, this is probably the worst artistic representation I've seen in media. It was really bad. It had so many issues to it. And I'm not autistic. I am an holistic, is that the phrase? Give me 1 second. I want to make sure I'm using the right phrasing. Yeah, holistic. Okay. I love everything. Is holistic a real word? Yes, it is. Okay. I am an holistic person. Okay. I am, to the best of my knowledge, neurotypical. I am not someone who, to the best of my knowledge, deals with, like, those types of issues. So, I am not the perfect person to speak on this. That being said, this movie was a really poor... From my outsider perspective, as someone who tries to be an ally, this is a really poor representation of someone with ASD. I do want to quote this review because it is just so on point. This is by Adeline Taylor. Thank you. Oh, actually, I think it might be Taylor H. White people don't like ghosts, or how Kevin Bacon learned how to stop being afraid of his son's autism and blame the Indians. An alternate title, which is hilarious. You're amazing. This is about as harmful as film gets, folks. Yeah, this is just slightly above in terms of creation of quality. Of not cool. Like, this is, like, not cool and The Darkness are probably the two worst films I've seen this year. And I've seen a lot of bad films, but, like, these two were just, oh my goodness. Literally kill me. I don't know why, but obviously I watched the 1986 The Fly remake, but for some reason I just typed in The Nest, because I'm just like, that's what that reads as, right? Ooh, The Fly is good. Okay, I'm gonna... Once again, like I said, I'm having a hard time emotionally figuring out, like, where I want to put The Fly. Because I'm bad making decisions now, but I'm going to put this in, yeah, okay. I'm going to put this in, we're watching this right now. David Cronenberg, 1986, Be Afraid, Be Very Afraid. When Seth Brundle makes a huge scientific and technological breakthrough in teleportation, he decides to test it on himself. Unbeknownst to him, a common housefly manages to get inside the device, and the two become one. This was such a fun fucking movie. Oh my gosh, the special effects were amazing. The pacing was amazing. Who the fuck? Is this Gina Davis? Is that who it is? Yes, it's Gina Davis. Gina Davis was so fucking hot in this movie. I can't even. She was literally a fucking goddess. I love her. Okay. The next up is The Fourth Kind, which is a found footage film. And actually, it had some controversy, I think. Yeah, it had, like... Okay, why am I having issues here? Give me 1 second. For some reason, it's not. So here's a fun fact, guys. Fourth does not have. So here's a fun fact, guys. Apparently, I don't know how to spell words. So that's new. That's fun. Apparently, Mila. I'm having an issue, guys. Mila Jovovich is the main lead. She's super pretty. Fourth kind. Olentundo Onsumsanmi, which... Really? They don't have a bio for him? That sucks. So, yeah, Olutunde Ososami, 2009, there are 4 kinds of alien encounters. The 4th kind is abduction. Since the 1960s, a disproportionate number of the population in and around Nome, Alaska, have gone missing. Despite FBI investigations, the disappearance remains a mystery. Dr. Abigail Taylor, a psychiatrist, may be on the verge of blowing the unsolved cases wide open when, during the course of treating her patients, she finds evidence of alien abductions. Okay, this movie was trash, like, in a lot of ways, but, like... Okay, I take that back. I really liked this film. I thought it had, like, a really fresh take on found footage. It had this, like, mockumentary style, and it was just, like, so... It was really well done. They did this thing where they, like, basically had it was, like, reenacting, but at the same time, they had, like, the actual footage, but not really, because it's fake, like, on screen, and they did this thing where, like, the line between it was, like, going this way and that way, and it was, like, blurring in and out, and, like, I've never seen split screen done in found footage like that, and it was such a good effect. Like, I want to see if I have any, like, details in my review to describe it. Just give me a second. Yeah, so, like, I'm looking, like, back at my review, and I was, like, praising the format a lot, which is one thing I really like about it. But let me just read off the bad stuff that I put in here so I know, like, what my criticism was, because I remember, like, I had mixed feelings about this. I just don't remember what they were. Some of the acting, specifically Sheriff's, are a bit hammy to the point that it really pulled me out of the film. #disappointed. There were some generally good actors, specifically Mila Jovovich, but the acting was a mixed bag overall. I found the plot to be decent, just decent. It boils down to aliens, and we never get to answer some of the fun mystery of the story. It wraps up a little weak. Okay, I don't remember the film really that well, which probably just goes to show the plot wasn't amazing, and also, I am reviewing 100 films here, so bear with me. Excuse me. But yeah, what I really liked about this was the format. That was, like, the main thing. So, we're going to move on. This was another film, though. It's just, like, this random thing I saw. I think I watched this on Peacock with my old computer. So, it was so bad. Oh my god. Peacock, fix your shit, okay? The Funhouse. Tobe Hooper. 1981. Pay to get in. Pray to get out. That's why I watched it. Okay. I watched this film because in Hellfest they have the same tagline. And I'm like, oh, I remember reading that in, like, the trivia section of Hellfest. And so I watched this film, and I hated it. I hated this movie so much. I give it 2.5 stars. I couldn't have hated it that much. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm putting this in there alright. Okay, that's fair. I'm being really hasty with this. Rebellious teen Amy defies her parents by going to a trashy carnival. It is trashy. That is pulled into town. In tow are her boyfriend Buzz and their friends Liz and Richie. Thinking it would be fun to spend the night in the campy funhouse horror ride, the teens witness a murder by a deformed worker wearing a mask. Locked in, Amy and her friends must evade the murderous carnival workers and escape before it leaves town the next day. Yeah, so this film was just, like, super... It was dull, okay? It was like Tobe Hooper was just like, you know what? I'm going to take that house of the October Built's bag and just, like, you know, throw in some, like, you know, basic, like, you know, slasher shit. And so these teenagers, they witness a murder, there's some slasher shit going on, but the first half of the film is literally them just, like, running around looking at, like, carnival, like, you know, exhibits, and I'm like... Bitch, I'm bored. Tobe Hooper, how did you make a titty bar boring? Okay. I was just very much disappointed. I'm, like, bored by this film. The Ginger Dead Man. You know this is going on so bad, it's good. Okay, I remember the exact plot of the gingerbread. I think I was on my phone. Sometimes I'm on my phone, okay? Fight me. Also, I have to fix the spelling of this, because I apparently suck at fucking typing. Charles Band, 2005, Evil Never Tasted So Good. That was not words. Evil never tasted so good. There we go. An evil yet adorable gingerbread man comes to life with the soul of a convicted killer, and this real-life cookie monster wreaks havoc on the girl who sent the killer to the electric chair. So basically, this is Chucky, but it's a gingerbread man. Okay, it was a fun premise. It was cute. Okay, it was a little gingerbread man, and he looked like a fucking monstrosity, and he was just stabbing people. Okay, it was funny. So the next up is The Haunting of Sorority Row. Not to be confused with... What the fuck is it? You know, it was The Haunting of Sorority Row. Should not be confused with The Haunting of Fraternity Row, Sorority Row, The House of Sorority Row, Haunted House of Sorority Row, or My Will to Live in regards to this bullshit. There is a lot of movies with a similar name, and I will be making a Names the Same video with that. Remind me in the future. This was directed by Bert Kish, who... They also do not have a fucking bio, so we don't... Bert's like a guy's name, right? Okay. Samantha Willows, a college freshman, looks to pledge a sorority. Unbeknownst to Sam, it is haunted by a former pledge taking revenge on those who wronged her. This was like, meh, alright. Like, I don't want to say it's a bad film. It was just boring. Like, it's not trash. It was just whatever, you know what I mean? Like, if I was, like, super pissed out, drunk, and I'm just, like, half paying attention on the couch, like, I'd watch it. Like, you know, I don't care. Excuse me. The House That October Built Too. Bobby Rowe, 2017. Recovering from the trauma of being kidnapped last Halloween by the Blue Skeleton, a group who take extreme haunt to another level, 5 friends decide they must face their fears in order to move on. Heading back out on the road to visit more haunted house attractions, signs of the Blue Skeleton start appearing again and a new terror begins. So this has 2.1 stars on Letterboxd, and I agree. The original film was really good because it had like this sort of like... what am I trying to say? The original film really works because it's, like, ambiguous, right? Like, is it real? Is it fake? You don't really know. And so, it gets to this point where you just have this, like, kind of, like... I don't know, like, it really, like, maintains this tension, right? And this movie kind of just, like, you know it's, like, real, so it kind of loses the backbone that made the original movie so well done. And it's a lot of, like, build-up to something that I don't even... This is like the one movie I literally fell asleep to. Like, I don't fall asleep to a lot of movies, but this one I totally did. And it's just because it's basically like a home video. It's just them going to different, like, Halloween attractions. And it's like, occasionally, ooh, there's a spooky doll. Remember the first movie? And I'm just like, yeah, fuck you. I don't care because it's so boring. I don't want to watch people make home videos of a zombie run. You know what I mean? I was so bored. Okay, next up is The Hunger by Tony Scott, 1983. Nothing human loves forever. Also, I love this poster. I made sure to get this poster in, so the other one. Both posters are pretty good, but this one is my favorite because they have, what's her face? Catherine Deneuve, I believe is her name. She's like this French actress. They just have her, like, you know, kneeling down, like, hand, like, straight up grabbing a titty. And I'm just like... Iconic queen. Miriam promises her lover the gift of eternal life, but John, her companion for centuries, suddenly discovers that he is getting old minute by minute, so he looks for Dr. Sarah Roberts, a researcher on the mechanism of aging, and asks her for help. I'm going to put this under it's complicated, because on one hand, it's like... I was kind of bored by this movie, but on the other hand, it's fun, you know, it's... very much one of those like queer vamp movies, which we'll get into. But one of my favorite scenes is this one where so that chick I just mentioned, and then Susan Sarandon, who we love. Susan Sarandon's like the doctor, and she like walks in and she takes off her like 1980s like power suit jacket, and she's wearing this blouse, and you can. I love this. I love that this stream is literally just me being horny on Maine constantly. You can. She's like straight up got her titties out, right? Like you can like there is nip. There's like. It is showing a lot, is what I'm saying. And she, like, walks over, and she, like, bisexual sits in the shit. Like, she's just like, oh. Like, just, like, power stance. It's very butch. It is doing a lot of things, personally. And, and so the vampire lady, Catherine Deneuve, was, like, playing this, like, cutesy little piano. And she's like, oh, what you playing? And Catherine Deneuve is like, oh, it's, like, this, like, song with, like, this woman and her sapphic love interest. And she's like, wow, is that a love song? And she's like, no, it's two women. And she's like, I don't know, it sounds kind of gay. And she's like, maybe it is. Maybe they look kitty. Like, who knows? And this is surrounded. And mind you, she is literally devouring this woman with her eyes. She is like bisexual sitting. She is wearing this like very revealing outfit. It's like it's feminine, but it's like very butch compared to like Miriam, which is the name of the character that I keep Catherine Deneuve's character, right? And so she's just like, damn, Catherine Deneuve's character, are you coming on to me? I'm like, girl, is she coming on to you? Is she coming on to you? Have your titties out, okay? Don't tell me that, like, you walked up to you, like, wearing this tight-ass shirt without a fucking bra and, like, fucking, like, spreading your damn legs on this chair and being like, are you coming on to me? Girl, you were coming on to her. And then they bang, and I'm like, okay, it is very sapphic. Like, Catherine Deneuve plays this, like, basically bisexual vampire, and it is iconic. So it's like, on one hand, I'm just like, I love this. It's like gay as shit and like iconic, but on the other hand, like the pacing is really ruining it for me. It's like aesthetic, but also like I'm bored. I might have just like not been in a good place like when I watched it. I had just gotten over a breakup, so I'm still single. So text me, hit me up. The Iceman, 2012 by Ariel Roman. Loving husband, devoted father, ruthless killer. The true story of Richard Kolinsky, the notorious contract killer and family man. So I guess this is technically a biopic. I'm gonna put this, and I liked it. So yeah, it was a decent enough biopic. I haven't really watched so much biopics because I don't care about real people. But this was like a really enjoyable sort of like action like romp. Apparently the real guy was like super fucking abusive, and you kind of get a little bit of that in the story, but I don't necessarily know if you get like, I feel like they kind of tone it down, you know what I mean? Next up is Lamb. It was another movie I watched, give me a second, in theaters on a date. This is by Vladimir Johansson, and this is 2021. This was an A24 production. This is another one of those. Also, I'm a little pissed off that they did not have Titanium theaters. I will come for you, Cinemark. Just saying. So, Vladimir Johansson, Mother. Nature. Haha, get it? A couple discovered a mysterious half-lamb, half-human newborn on their farm in Iceland. The unexpected prospect of family life brings them much joy, but ultimately destroys them. It was like a popcorn film. Like, it's like a popcorn, like, it wasn't even a horror, like, it was very much, like, promoted as a horror movie, but, like, when you actually watch it, it totally wasn't. You know what I mean? It was very much, like, this slice of life, like, folk story. I liked it, but it's, like, it was, like, just super chill. Okay, The Lost Boys. Ooh. That's difficult. Because, like, on one hand, I do like this movie, and it's kind of gay. You know what I mean? Joel Schumacher, who... Oh, yeah, this is definitely queer. I'm sorry. Schumacher also did, like, you know, those campy, like, Batman movies, and I'm just like, I'm sorry. Are you telling me this man is not a homosexual? You're incorrect. Like, there is definitely something queer about you, honey. 1987, sleep all day, party all night, never grow old, never die. It's fun to be a vampire. A mother and two teenage sons move to a seemingly nice and quiet small coastal California town, yet soon find out that it's overrun by bike gangs and vampires. A couple of teenage friends take it upon themselves to hunt down the vampires that they suspect of a few mysterious murders, and restore peace and calm to their own. So, sorry, the first review for this is Corey Feldman talking in a deep and dark voice for the whole movie is such a choice. Yeah, so... I put this in great film as a recommendation because I liked it. It's like, also it's super fucking queer. Like, it is definitely a very queer ass film. Maybe one of these days I might do like a series review on it and watch the two sequels, even though I hear the sequels are so shitty. But yeah, like, this was a fun film. It's some gay vamp shit, let's be honest. It is some gay vamp shit, but like, not as explicitly gay as like The Hunger. Oh, also, Lost Boys and The Hunger were, like, you know, on, Girls, Ghosts, and Giallo. So I've seen a few of those films from there. Oh, I'm going... Where the fuck is it? Somewhere I had... Okay. I really need to stop doing that on camera, I'm sorry. The lore, apparently it's Corky Dunsingu. I can't speak Polish, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, maybe talk to Kelly Zabrowski, like, please critique, you know, my fucking, like, Polish, I'm sorry. This was directed by Agnieszka Samosinska. My apologies for your name. Because I know I messed that up. Two mermaid sisters who end up performing in a nightclub face cruel and bloody choices. One of them falls in love with a beautiful young man. This is definitely going in, like, personal recommendation, because, like... Well, this is going, like, I liked it, you know what I mean? Because, like, not every movie I need to, like, personally recommend, but I did enjoy this film. Because, like... But it's also super fucking weird. It is a Polish horror musical. I don't think it's it's not comedic, it's not funny. But yeah, it's a horror musical, which I do love those. But yeah, it's like... It's very much like this sort of feminist vibe and like this take on like The Little Mermaid basically. But like what if it was like hypersexual and sad? Sad. I love doing that. Sad. I'm just vibing, okay? I'm just vibing here. The Sand, 2015. The Sand is straight up going in so bad it's good. I love The Sand. The beach is killer. Ooh, let me try to do, like, a sober accent. Yeah, the waves are, like, tight, man. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water again, you can't even get across the sand. Blood Rage meets Spring Breakers and an Ace Monster mashup of smart nostalgia and up-to-the-minute visual effects. Who the fuck wrote this? After an all-night graduation beach party, a group of hungover students wake up under a blazing sun. They find their numbers somewhat depleted. An enormous alien creature is buried deep down below, and anyone foolish enough to make contact with the sand finds themselves at the mercy of a sea of... I have to let it filling my mouth. The sea of flesh-eating tentacles. Will they ever be able to escape his carnivorous clutches? So, apparently this got 1.8 stars on Letterboxd, and I put 4 stars. Which just goes to show that if I like a movie, ironically enough, I will rate it highly. Which is why we have this system in place. Okay, this is why we have the system, okay? Because I am subjective trash. I am a trash human being. And when I'm drunk, I do vocal fries. I'm such a fucking dork. Okay. The Turning, directed by Floria Singosmondi, 2020. Watch the Children of Care. A young woman quits her teaching job to be a private tutor for two wealthy young kids, but soon starts to suspect there's more to their house than what meets the eye. So, The Turning, I'm going to put in Matt Alright films. I didn't hate the film. I actually enjoyed it fairly much. Okay, I put this like 2.5 stars, and that's like definitely my Matt Alright film. It's like, I don't have a strong opinion about this either way. I thought it did some pretty good aesthetic things, but besides that, I don't really have, like, you know, a big opinion about it aesthetic-wise. So, let's see. The next up is The Wicker Man, the 2006 film. I did not like this. Neil LaBute, 2006, Some Sacrifices Must Be Made. A sheriff investigates the disappearance of a young girl from a small island, discovers that there's a larger mystery to solve among the island's secretive neo-pagan community. Okay, this movie was trash. Okay, this movie was absolute shit. I'm sorry, Nicolas Cage, but just because you say that it is a absurdist black comedy doesn't actually make it a absurdist black comedy. Don't know what to tell you. So, 13 Ghosts is directed by Steve Beck, 2001. Misery loves company. Author and his two children, Kathy and Bobby, inherited his Uncle Cyrus' estate, a glass house that serves as a prison to 12 ghosts. When the family, accompanied by Bobby's nanny and an attorney, enter the house, they find themselves trapped inside an evil machine designed by the devil and powered by the dead. To open the Eye of Hell, aided by Dennis, a ghost hunter, and his rival Colina, a ghost rights activist out to set their ghosts free, the group must do what they can to get out of the house alive. So I'm going to put this in So Bad It's Good because it's very... the fuck is it? Oh, it's Transworlds. Because it's very campy, you know what I mean? Like, it is a fun film, but it's, like, fun as, like, this sort of, like, campy, like, ghost romp. It's not, like, fun, like, a genuine way, you know what I mean? It's very much in, like, the sort of, like, it's, like, very much, it's fun because it's so stylish, but at the same time, like, you don't get, the only reason why you get, you know, anything about, like, the ghosts is because you read the backstories on, like, IMDb page, or because you have the DVD, and it's, like, one of the, like, you know, specials. Next up is another 13 Days of Elvira, and that is Trancers. Charles Band, 1984. His name is Death. He hunts Trancers, even in the 20th century. This is basically like a Blade Runner ripoff. Love it. Angel City Trooper Jack Death is sent back in time from 2020-47 to 1985 LA to inhabit the body of his ancestor. This assignment is to find his arch-enemy Whistler, who turns people into zombies, before the Fiend is able to kill all the ancestors of the future's governing council. So, this was actually highly rated by the two friends of mine on Letterboxd that watched it. I love this. This was, like, so campy and so fun. And Helen Hunt is in this. Oh, I'm sorry. Apparently I rated this a popcorn film, and I agree. Yeah, this was, like, such a fun movie. It was, like... Helen Hunt is literally just trying to fuck this DILF, and I am here for it. Okay, what's wrong? Okay, why can't I... Okay, apparently it's... Cool. Apparently after a certain point I can't actually... Oh, wait, I'll just... Ha ha ha. Just like me just like finding that... I like tier ranking, but eventually it gets to a point where I was like, So, maybe next time I'll just have to like... talk about the movies I watched instead of... tier ranking them, because if I watch more than 100, I'm going to start having issues like this. So does that mean that... No, that's weird, because I can still access these. Okay, I don't know why I was doing that, that's weird. But you saw that, right? Okay. Next up is Truck Turner. And Truck Turner is So the reason why I watched this is because Foxy Brown was basically a like matinee type movie, and it was shown along with Truck Turner, who the fuck is this? Isaac Hayes, Jonathan Kaplan, 1974, and he was like definitely eye candy in this. Black Bolt and Bloody Mean, Truck Turner and his partner Jerry, who make their living as bounty hunters in Los Angeles, are hired to hunt down Gator, a pimp who has skipped bail. This was, I'm gonna put this in like so bad it's good because it was like a really fun like camp movie. Literally, he like goes to like the jail place. But I like put this in a popcorn film. I feel that. I love how I said at the beginning, oh, I'm not going to like, okay, it's not going to let me change it, so it's going to be under so bad it's good. But no, it's a popcorn film. I don't feel like going for the shit again. But yeah, basically the whole movie is just like Isaac Hayes like not wearing a shirt and shooting people, and it was like just a fun time. Oh my god, Twister. I loved Twister. I am so fucking gay for Helen Hunt. But, like, I'm straight for... You get what I'm saying. Like, I'm straight for Helen Hunt, but, like, you get what I'm saying. John DeBone, 1986, The Dark Side of Nature. TV weatherman Bill Harding is trying to get his tornado hunting wife Jo to sign divorce papers so he can marry his girlfriend Melissa. But Mother Nature, in a former series of intense storms sweeping across Oklahoma, has other plans. Soon the three have joined the team of storm chasers elite, to insect a revolutionary measuring device at the very heart of several extremely violent tornadoes. Twister is a fucking mood. I love Twister. Okay. Twister, you are beautiful. You are Grace. You are Miss United States. I know I just put that in personal recommendation, but guess what? That's because I have so many movies that it's too dummy thick to hold it all. Next up is what the fuck is this movie called? Underworld. I'm like, what is that movie called? I don't remember. 2003, Len Wiseman, An Immortal Battle for Supremacy. Vampires and werewolves have waged a nocturnal war against each other for centuries, but all bets are off when a female vampire warrior named Celine, who's famous for her strength and werewolf hunting prowess, became smitten with a peace-loving male werewolf, Michael, who wants to end the world. Oh, this is hard. I'm gonna put it under... It was okay. Like, it's a nice, like, it's a pretty film, but, like, I really don't have any, like, strong opinions about it. Yeah, I'm looking like, what did I put in? I put it under Meryl, right? Like, I'm just like, whatever. Okay, so Winchester 2018. Terror is building. This was done by the Sparig brothers. San Jose, California, 1906. Isolated in her labyrinthine mansion, eccentric firearms heiress, Sarah Winchester believes that she is being haunted by the souls of those killed by the guns manufactured by her company. This is also apparently one of those things where it's like there's multiple movies based off of it, but this is the first one that's like consensual, basically. It was alright. It's not a bad film, but like it is whatever. I kind of want it, like, I'm kind of, like, tired of streaming. I love you guys, don't get me wrong, but I've also been streaming for, like, 4 fucking hours. And so I am really ready to, like, kind of relax, you know what I mean? So, the last one is Zombievers. Basically, Zombie Beavers, you get it. It's great. It's, like, it's trash camp comedy. I love it. So that's pretty much it. I will put the description, the tier list in the description, but other than that, that is every single movie I watched in 2022, and when we go into the new year, I will watch a whole fucking 10 more, so, this is False Bulls 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to be signing off.